I think we are live now. Let me get to the chat real quick, so we got that going. It will actually tell me too when we get live people on. So we'll give it a few seconds. I'm pretty sure it's going to tell me. Yes, there's my live views. I don't know if you guys can see that. Can you see up to the top left of the corner of the screen? See how many people are on?
No.
Nope.
Oh, cool. So we got people on already. We have people on Fauna Radio and Horner Exotics. And welcome, guys, to Fauna Radio. We're going to be talking to Joe of Venom-Proof Venom-Proof Caging. I almost said something else. Venom-Proof Caging. And he's a hot keeper. He's a hothead, and he's got a patent on this caging, right?
It's patent pending. Yep. So I'm working on the full patent. That's expensive and takes a long time.
Yeah, but it's a different side caging. I've seen it in person. It actually is a really good idea. It kind of takes the danger element out of owning, some of the danger element out of owning venomous snakes. So if you want to, go ahead, introduce yourself and let people know who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm Joe Challoner. I've been in the reptile industry. Hold on, let me shut this heater up real quick.
He's gonna roast in there.
Damn thermostats. I've been in this industry since as long as I can remember. I started out working for Tom Lossman when I was 11. Worked for him all the way up until I was 17. Started J&A Reptiles with my wife, and mostly worked with like boas, big retic sperms, handful of like venomous here and there because I was still in apartment complexes. And then about 8 years ago, we bought our house out here in Rudolph, and my daughter made a funny joke. She said, "It seems like ever since we moved into this house, I keep seeing more and more red tape go up on all the cages." And but I worked with mostly like crotalus species, different rattlesnakes, a lot of atrox. And then one day, me and my daughter went to the herp show down in Conroe, and the wife let us go alone, which was her first mistake. And I brought back my first cobra. And I'd been talking about, like, I wish someone would make a cage just to make things a little bit easier for, like, doing water changes, this and that, so that way if I don't have to pull them out for a reason, I don't. And I don't really like a lot of the shift boxes that were out there. You know, then you still got to go in the cage, and you get them charging snakes, and they're coming right out of them little shift boxes when you go to shut the door. And anyway, the wife said, you got a week to make one of those cages that you've always been talking about, or you're selling the cobra, which kind of took me for a loop because I had like 45 rattlesnakes, but the one cobra was her issue. But they were new to me as far as actually owning one myself, so I kind of got it. Made one out of wood, and then I made one out of plastic welded it, and I posted a video of me cleaning a rattlesnake cage, and it went viral, and the rest was history.
So now you're a hothead.
Yeah.
Do you find the way you do these cages that it's less stressful on the animal?
Mostly that is like my biggest like factor that I love about it the most, especially like with the crotalus species. If you get like a lot of your atrox, they're just nuts, and you have to grab them with grabbers and hooks, and they're still, they'll shoot right off from a hook at you. And a lot of times they're dropping off hooks, landing on the ground, you break a rattle. It's just a pain in the butt and a lot of stress on the snake, to where for a simple water dish change or one turd that's in there, if there's a medical issue, that's a different reason. That justifies putting that animal through a little bit of stress to treat it. But if I just got to change a water dish, especially with the crotalus species, because they love being in hide boxes all the time, I pull a slide, and then bam, I can go in that cage, and he's locked securely in there. And just cleaning. I mean, I used to take 3 days to do all my hots for a full cleaning job, and now I can do it in a couple hours with my daughter.
Now, I know you said you have a patent pending on it.
Yep.
Are you able to explain a little bit how this caging works?
Yeah. So basically, there's there's a standard cage, just like any other cage, with a normal main door, and then I built the hide right into the cage, and it's on a double layer system with a slide through the center. It slides out, and there's a notch out on the slide to where it comes through the front of the cage, so you can pull it right from the outside of the cage, and it'll stop when it's secure. There's a hole on the bottom that you can put a padlock through, like a lockout tagout, so it secures it so you don't accidentally bump it open. The feeding or the hide box also has a door, so you can clean the hide box. Like if it gets dirty, you can reverse the process. But I use it so I can actually look and make sure the snake's really in there before I go in the cage. And then you can access the cage completely secure. And I do put a feed door on them too, but the feed door is not part of the patent. That's just a little something extra I put in there.
Okay. It sounds like it's a much safer way than I've seen a lot of people do the way they do it.
Well,
I used to, which one you can see here. Like, can you see this one here?
Yeah, you can see that, yeah.
So the hide box is here, and now that's closed. So if that snake was in that hide box, he's completely secure inside there.
So you made us, when it's closed, you can actually physically see it on the outside of the cage.
Exactly.
That's smart. That's actually really smart.
It's very smart.
Yeah, there's 0 blind spots in my cage whatsoever, aside from if you put a hide inside the cage or something. But, standard with the cage, there's no, like the Visions have the death rail. I don't have none of that.
Oh, you know about the death rail.
I use Visions. I mean, I still have Neodeshes. Like, you can see up there. That's one of the old Neodeshes.
The Neos, I love the Neos, but the Visions, they have that. I used to have lots of Mojaves, and they used to sit up in that little rail, and you'd look in there and be like, yep, you knew where he was at. And to get him out of there was
a pain.
I mean, good luck.
Yep.
And the Cobras were another one that were huge to love to get up there. They just, that's what they did. I like your design because you can knock off the animal, lock it off, and get in the cage and not have to worry about anything. It's just a huge difference compared to a lockbox that you still got to remove from the cage. It is in a secure area. What does your caging start price at?
So the 2 foots are $299, and they go I have a 3 foot tall arboreal with the hide box on top for arboreal snakes that like to hide up in trees. So the hide box is actually up in the top right corner. That one is $449. It's 3 foot tall, 2 foot by 2 foot by 3 foot. Then I go to a 4 foot cage. The 4 foot is $549. And then I do a 6 foot for $749 and an 8 foot for it's like $1,100.
So that's
not a
actually
bad price at all.
No, as I said, it's very, very good pricing compared to some, a lot of caging I've seen.
So I wanted to stay as close to standard caging pricing as possible. I didn't want people to not take a safe route because they could save some money. I wanted, and when I started out, I mean, my prices were higher than this originally, but I was paying premium price. But thanks to the customers and the company's been growing, I've been able to do larger orders and bring my pricing way down. Now I'm, maybe $50 more than a standard cage.
That ain't bad for the safety aspect alone.
Yeah, and then every door has a lock, and all the locks match. And I don't care if you buy a cage from me this year and then buy another one in 6 years; it's the same key for the same lock.
That's actually a nice feature. That is really a nice feature. That was a big problem back in the day. I would have, different locks for different cages. And you would have to have that code on the wall. This is for that cage.
Yeah.
And,
I found a company on Amazon that made a lock exactly like what I wanted, and they made them all keyed alike, and I order them hundreds at a time.
Very good.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So what is there a certain species that made you think to build this? Was it the rattlesnakes? Was it the buzztails? Or
so I've been wanting this cage to come out since before I even kept Venomous. I kind of thought, wouldn't it be cool if there was something that made it a little bit easier for someone that wanted to get started? But mentorships are hard to find. And let's just be honest, like that's a big risk for someone to take on. I take on mentors from time to time, but I'm really picky about it because we don't want to waste our time and put our companies at risk for someone that's not dedicated to this hobby that just wants to have a pet. So I always thought about it, but with my rattlesnakes, I mean, you're changing water twice a week. They crap all over the place. I mean, you've kept them. You know how they are, man. They trash their cages, 4 or 5 times a week per snake. I got to pull them out, put them in a plastic tub, lock them up, set them aside, access the cage, pull them back out, put them in the cage. Dude, that's hundreds and hundreds of times that I'm putting myself at risk and stressing the snake out for what?
You're 100% right. I mean,
I agree.
I know this is stupid. I used to get tired of that, and I would just take baboons and I'd set them on the floor on the other end of the room and deal with their cage. Seriously, that's what I used to do.
Yeah.
And my boom sling I would just put up, and they would go up in the top shelving parts. And I got to the point where I got really laid back. I would just, grab cobras, put them out, and deal with them later. And it was really laid back. I'm lucky I wasn't bit. This takes all that danger part out unless you have to medically take care of that snake.
Right. Yeah. Which happens. I mean, it happens. I just had a video that dropped on my YouTube channel the other day saving my rattlesnake's life. I had my sidewinder get compacted. I had no choice. I got to pull that snake out, and I got to do something, or it's going to be problems. But other than that, I'm leaving them alone. They don't want to be my friend.
Yeah, but I was going to say most of my buzztails I never touched. The only thing I touched a lot was the boom sling because of videos. You know that. I used to take videos of them all the time.
Yeah.
But this caging is, I think a step in the right direction for the venomous community, and I think the venomous community should get behind it, especially with the cost. I mean, you're not talking thousands of dollars. You're talking $50 more for a design that, you're going to get the patent for it. You got it pending. It's an amazing. Is it a design patent? Is that what it is?
So I think they're going for a full utility patent, and then if that doesn't go through, I'll go design patent. There's an old colubrid cage from back in the 60s that might hold me up from the whole utility patent. It's a weird cage that you've probably seen it because you've been around long enough, but basically it was on the bottom and it was designed to lock it out for egg boxes.
Seen it.
Oh, I remember that.
I was going to say, I've seen those.
Right. So that might hold me up on my utility patent because of how they had that set up, but it was made out of wood. So, and that was in their patent too. So I don't know. Because
I got reminded of that case the other day. I was actually in a PetSmart because I needed a 40 breeder. I just had to have a 40 breeder. So I go into PetSmart. They have a cage that reminds me of that. It's front opening though.
Yeah.
But then it has a tray. It has a tray that's about this deep.
Yep.
And I'm like,
and
that
it
reminds
has
me
a
of that
hole
cage
that they can crawl down into.
Yes.
To drop their eggs. And I remember those. They're from the 70s, I think.
Yeah, and so that was patented in like 74 or 77 or something like that. It was like
70s.
It was crazy. So we'll see what happens with it. Either way, I'm not going to give up even if I don't get the full patent. I mean, I'm in it to win it.
I was going to say it's a totally different design. It's a totally different area.
Yeah. But I wonder if Bob Applegate had something to do with that patent from before.
I don't know who the patent is in. I remember that cage though. It wasn't around long. Too. Because I mean, it was in the 80s. It was kind of going away.
I never heard of it until I did they do like a check. It costs you $300, and they do a check for patents that are similar, and that's the one that popped up.
I don't think that would hold you up because it's like a total different. It's like it was a total different thing. But who knows with the patent things? Because I have friends that are doing certain things and trying to get patent. I'm trying to get my guest next week has designs on stuff. I'm trying to get him to patent it. I'm like, get a utility patent on it because no one has this.
Right.
And he's selling it at shows right now. He's selling it. I'm like,
no. You have 12 months from the date that you first offer your item for sale to put in a provisional patent to the date.
I need to get him because I think he just released it at Janesville. You know what I'm talking about, Nico. The frog guy that was right behind me, kind of, at the Janesville show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a dart frog person there. He's got a design for you can take a $10 tub and make it a dart frog enclosure. It's insane. And I was like, and he 3D printed it. So,
that's sweet.
That's why I think caging. You go to a reptile show, and we see tons of animals, and then you'll see a pet store, but you don't see specifically reptile caging. And you're one of the very few people I've ever seen have specific reptile caging there.
Right. Well,
It
that's
was-
because I built it because I was a keeper. I didn't just say one day that I never planned on having a cage company. I just wanted to have crazier snakes and shut the wife up. I mean, that's just the way it was. And it's funny, though, because cobras are what started this company. And now, after working with cobras for 8 years, they're nothing compared to crowdilus. Crowdilus are nuts. I'll take cobras any day of the week.
Yeah, we were talking about that Janesville. I was like,
Yeah.
I'd rather deal with a cobra any day than crow. It's just,
Any day.
they got the death roll. The crows have death rolls. I mean, they say wet noodles, but baby cobras are actually easier to deal with than a baby rattlesnake.
Yeah.
It's just no. And then you got the other viper speed. Vipers are just not the easiest all the time.
So my next question will be, now with your little hide on the side that you can lock off, can that be adjusted to like any size? Like, let's say you get a big gaboon viper that's like pretty huge. Could
as the cages get bigger, the hides get bigger.
Okay.
So, well, my 2 foot and 4 foot hide is the same size, but the 2 foot's actually got the hide's bigger than it needs to be. But in order to make enough room to get in there and clean the hide, that's kind of the smallest I can go, which is 8 by 8 by the full 2 foot deep that the hide is. But then when you go to the 6 foot, it comes out to a foot. So it's a foot by 8 by 2 foot deep. And then on the 8 foot, it's a foot and a half tall, or a foot tall by a foot and a half wide by 2.5 foot deep. And then the hole for the slide gets bigger as it goes up too.
Okay. I was saying most of them will probably chill in that hide most of the time.
Yeah. So I have an 8 foot in my shop here, and I keep a couple retics in it. And I was cleaning a cage, and so I put my other 2 retics into that cage with them while I was cleaning the one cage because I didn't want them running around my room. And all 4 of them got into the hide.
That's great.
And I mean, these retics are 16 foot long, and there's 4 of them in there.
So
awesome.
now that you've been using these since you've made them and you're using them, do you find that the snakes seem to be calmer and less stressed?
So my snakes seem way more relaxed. I will say that like my elapids are more cage aggressive cage wise because they're not used to people being in the cage when they're exposed. Mm-hmm. You do have to watch as snakes grow. You don't want to keep like a snake be like, oh well, the 2 foot should go to the 4 foot, because I got cobras that I'm raising up in these 2 foots, and the one guy is about 18. He's about 2 foot long now. He's figured out the feed door. And he with it on the 2 foot, the feed door is right above the hide. So it's like, and it's designed so if you have a smaller snake, they can be up on the hide when you use the feed. Well, a 2 foot cobra goes launching for that. I thought he was coming out that door the other day. So they're getting upgraded to 4 foots where the feed door is in the center here up on top. So that way they don't have something to step up onto to get in there. So definitely get the right size cage for your snake. That's the one thing I noticed. We've made some upgrades as we started. Originally, they were out of 1/4 inch plastic welded. I had warping issues with that. So now I go up, I have full 1/2 inch and they're full CNC cut out of machines. I had originally some warping issues on the doors. So now they all come with twisty tabs as well to stop that.
Oh, sweet.
And I just finally figured out how to make a glass option. So hopefully by Conroe, don't hold me to that, but I'm hoping by the June Conroe, I'll have the version that you have now, or you'll have the option of the Pro Series, which will be with all glass doors. Obviously, that'll be a little bit more expensive, but I'm only adding the expense of what the glass cost me, nothing more.
That's not a bad deal, though. I mean, just for the safety part of it's huge.
I prefer the acrylic myself, but if you're someone that likes to take a lot of photos, the glass option is going to be nice for you.
Yeah. What kind of heating do you have in that?
So I don't sell them with heat because I'm not going to take that liability to my company, but I recommend that people use radiant heat panels with the thermostat. They work the best in them. You can use underbelly heat, but just like any type of, I do HDPE and PVC versions of this, but either way, them heat pads run really hot to get it pushed through. So in the future, when I got my own CNC, I'll probably have an option to where you could have like if you're going to do like a heat pad on the bottom, I can router out a section for it. But right now, I'm paying a CNC guy to do all my cutting for me because I don't have 50 grand laying around for a CNC yet.
I was just going to say, them are expensive.
They are expensive.
I've been looking into them.
Radiant heat panels, though, I mean, aren't that expensive. They're just not anymore.
They're so cheap, and they work great. I prefer radiant heat panels myself.
Because I've told people that you can get radiant heat panels for factories and like for retail that go in your ceiling, and you can heat your rooms that way.
Yeah.
I wish I could do radiant heat panels all over my house. Cheaper than gas here, but
Yeah.
I really do like this design. I looked at it. I went down in Janesville. I wanted to play with your Gaboon.
Yeah.
And I went down early, and you were down there, and I'm like, gosh, dang it. We're not going to be able to take it out if anyone else is here.
Right.
And I was like, I just wanted to play with it. And if your son, it was there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, oh, do you want to see the alligator? And I'm like, dude, I play with alligators all the time. I don't want to see the alligator. I want to play with those.
Right.
He was so good, though. He was handling his own, man, at the show.
He does well. I mean, but all my kids have been in shows and learning about reptiles since diapers. I mean, I have photos somewhere of my oldest, Destiny and Justice. Destiny's 16 now. God, she's getting old. My daughter's 16. I have pictures of her in diapers in a playpen behind my tables at Lee Watson's show at the old swap barn.
Wow, that's a name I haven't heard in a few weeks. Lee Watson. Oh, that show, I mean, that show was the rival of the Columbus show at one time.
Yeah.
And, it was the Columbus, Don Hamper, and then Watson. Which one was it? And now Tiny's running that show.
Yep.
And
they just moved it again. I haven't been to the new location yet, but
he's gone through a lot of stuff there. He's done the move, the COVID thing. He did it outside.
I wish I could have been to that. I've always a drive-through show. That would have been just cool to go to.
Yeah, I just wanted to attend it. Tiny works really hard, and so does all the vendors, Are you going to be in Sewerfest? Have you gotten to Sewerfest yet?
I haven't ever done Sewerfest.
Oh man!
There's the Northern Wisconsin Reptile Expo. I just sent in my vendor contract for that.
I'll talk to Dylan. That's fine. You'll be there. You'll be there. Shane might have a few tables. I would get a hold of Shane. Shane's good people. When I came to Wisconsin, basically I came in, he just started treating me like family right away. And I'm like,
right.
Whoa, this is cool. So Shane's really good people. And Mickey, but I'll talk to Dylan. I'll tell Dylan to get you a table. If worse comes to worse, we'll figure it out with my stuff I got.
Yeah, I mean, I mostly just set up a display and just shop with people at the local shows. I mean, I build future customers. It's funny because I do Mickey's show and I never ever sell a cage at Mickey's show. But then like 2 or 3 days after the show, 3 or 4 people that were at the show are like, hey, I seen you and we talked at the Janesville show. How much would you charge me to deliver a cage here or whatever? And it's like, dude, you're an hour from my house.
I'm going to promote Mickey big time. You going to do Venom Fest?
Yeah. I am so pumped. Well, I am literally putting in 14, 16-hour days every day all the way up until I leave because it's nuts. So I was working on removable shift boxes, just a simple swing door removable shift box for an extra safety thing to sell.
Yeah.
And with my plastic guy that I do all the CNC from. Now he makes the plastic and CNC cuts it for me and everything. There's only a few tweaks I got to do when they get here, and then I build them. I tell him, well, I don't think the shift boxes are going to be done quite in time. I'm going to put in my order for the rest of the plastic. I send it in. He emails me. This was literally just a few days ago. He says, I have a 2-month waiting list right now. I said, dude, we've been talking and you've known I've had this show for over 3 months. Nothing I can do about it. Absolutely nothing I can do. Now, the guy, I'm not saying he's not busy. I know he's super busy, but he's got 8 CNC machines, and he works 24/7 with 3 crews. 3 8-hour. It's a full-time factory. My order would probably take one of his machines 4 or 5 hours to pump out. Don't tell me you couldn't fit me in.
Yeah.
When you knew I had it coming up. So luckily, Robert from Lone Star Reptile Racks, good buddy of mine, he went through his people. He's express shipping me a freight shipment of a whole pallet of plastic, from Texas up to my house. I mean, I'm paying for it obviously, but he set it all up with prices that I can't even get locally, And then my wife, God bless her heart, she went on a rampage on the phone and found a CNC guy about 2 hours from us that was willing to drop everything he was doing, take my designs, because I ended up calling my plastic guy saying, you need to send me my designs right now. And he sent them to me on a file I couldn't open, so I had to go through emails and find the ones where we went back and forth to get them to this guy. But he dropped everything he's doing to get all of my CNC designs into his CAD program. I'm going there Wednesday for 4 days. I'm going to work right alongside with him, bust out all these CNC cuts, come back here, and I have like 14 cages to build before I leave in 2 weeks.
That's a lot to do in 2 weeks.
It's a lot.
Exactly. That's a lot. What?
But I will be there, and I will be fully stocked for all the customers waiting.
If somebody were to order a cage on average, what's the average wait time to get it?
So
I know some of these places are months out.
So I've never shipped in longer than 3 weeks.
Wow.
So I'm 3 weeks or less on shipping. And it's been because the guy that I get my plastic from, I make a phone call to him. Within 24 to 48 hours, I can go. He was 5 hours from me up in Minnesota. I could drive there, pick up the plastic. And when I ship them flat. So all I have to do is the pre-holes on the edges, because their machines won't do that. They only have 3-axis machines. And I package them up and ship them. So usually it's like within a week I'm shipped out.
That's kind of amazing.
And
wow.
When I have stockpiles, usually what I have is I have what I call my show display, which is 2 8-foots, 3 6-foots, 6 4-foots, 6 arboreals, and 10 2-foots. If you order one and I'm not at a show, I'll just break one down that's assembled and pack it up and ship it to you. So within a day of your order, it's on its way. And then I just fill the gaps. After every show, I would I sold 7 cages this show. That's what I need in plastic. And I just fill the gaps up.
That's actually a really good way to do it.
Yep.
Because there is a wait time. That's why I build my racks. I'm not waiting 6 months.
Right. Same here.
I was going to do vision because I used to do visioning racks all the time. But then I was like, no, that's $1,000 for some really cheap racks.
Yeah.
They're really cheap racks. You know what a vision rack is. I'm like, no. And Andrew knows I'm looking for display sets for my geckos. And that's another thing that's really hard to find right now. I mean, It's just impossible to find them. ARS is the only one that keeps them in stock. And Brian, I love you to death. If you're watching this, dude, Han, wow, they're expensive. I mean,
nice.
I'm not even talking about the case. I get the case. It's a music case. But I mean, $400 for the set. But I do like one thing about the ARS. He's using glass for the top.
Yeah.
That's kind of huge. I do have someone that has new ARS rack or displays. I got to talk to her. She commented on my stuff. I want to see if it's the glass top or the acrylic top. Acrylic tops suck. They scratch up after time and they're garbage.
Constantly buffing them. You could only buff them for so long.
Yeah, and it's just like, and all I want to do is put my high-end geckos. Everyone asks why I don't bring my $1,000 geckos to shows. If I put a $1,000 gecko in a deli cup, it can go out the door real easy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's what I tell everyone when they ask me, deli cups or displays. And it's like, well, displays looks more professional and they'll keep your stuff safe, but you will sell stuff faster in delis. But does it compare when they walk away?
That's what I want to do, because I do 2 to 3 tables per show. And I want to do like one table of all displays and do the high end, and the rest would be just deli cups. Because I could care less. I mean, I probably got geckos stolen from me. I'd give away geckos. Who cares? But you should do displays. You do acrylic. You got acrylic. Come on, do displays.
Right.
I'm pushing them to a new company. Come on.
So maybe when I get to CNC.
Oh, that's CNC. Imagine if you had one.
Yeah.
That's what,
so
50?
My buddy Robert just got one, and it changed the game for his company. I mean, he was already doing really well, and he got one, and he never looked back. So it's my goal. He sent me a link to a really, really nice one that I can get for 20,000. So we'll see how this year goes, and if my customers are willing, I'm planning on having one by the end of the year. And then you're really going to, then I'll start making standard cages. I'll start making anything out of plastic that I can cut. I'll make it and I'll have it for you.
That was my next question. Do you ever plan to make racks or anything like that?
So racks, I'm not going to get into. I have a couple good friends that both have good rack companies. I have no reason to get into the rack business. Personally, I don't use a lot of racks anymore. I mean, I do for some stuff, but I've gotten more into the enjoying my animal stage now. I want to sit back and I want to watch my snake crawl through his cage and go up a branch, and because I'm a reptile nerd, I always have been. That's really what it is. I mean, if I never made $1 and I could still eat every day, I'd still do this.
I said that in a post the other day. I said, I don't want to be rich anymore. I honestly just want to do an educational center. That's what I want.
Oh, I still want to be rich. Don't get me wrong. I just don't care. I just don't care if I am or not.
When you get rich, you get friends that aren't. You know what I'm saying?
They're not true friends. Yeah.
I get people at shows that come up and think I'm rich because I spend money at the shows, and I'm like, guys, it's Orner Exotics. It's not me.
Yeah.
It's Orner Exotics money, and guys, I pay $2,000 a month to feed my stuff. I'm like.
People think I'm rich all the time, and it's like, dude, I literally will drive to Texas 1,700 miles, show up at a herp show, and Sean Gray will vouch for this. I'll have $5 in my pocket when it opens.
Oh my Lord.
Bring it on.
Sean Gray is good, people.
Oh, I love him so much.
He doesn't have them anymore, but I sold him 3 generations of white and yellow, I want to say back in 2014. I sold him my founding male because I no longer used him. I sold him one of his sons, and then that gecko's son, and that's how he started white and yellow back in the day.
Right. Yeah.
He wanted white and yellow, and I'm like, I don't use these 3 males.
Right. He's still got a couple leopard geckos. I don't know which ones. We've got a few.
Yeah, I called him or messaged him, and I said, hey, do you still have any of those? And he said no, and I'm like, because I wanted my original line back.
Well, he's got Aldabras now, so he's moving up in the world.
I know, that's just insane.
Those are awesome.
Not many people can say they have those. That's pretty.
Yeah.
Because you get into the rare species, and people don't understand. I like rare stuff, and I think you like rare stuff.
Yeah.
You get in the venomous world. You're already talking rare, except for cobras, like monocle cobras. Everyone's got one of those.
Everybody.
I mean, everyone's got one. It's a corn snake.
Yeah.
Corn snake.
It is. If you go to like Hamburg, I'm sure you've been to Hamburg, Joe.
It's been a while since I've been there, but I've definitely been there.
Every venomous table has monocle cobras. I mean, you got $50, you can get a monocle cobra. I don't know if they're $50 now, but
prices have went up over the years, but it's still not a whole lot. I mean, you can get some pretty cool morphs for $400 or $500.
A funny story about Hamburg. This was 2008. I'm walking around Hamburg, and I was with JMG Reptiles. I was just helping him out. And there was a guy there and gave me a gaboon he could tell people he gave Gary Orner a gaboon viper. And I was like, oh, whatever. Tell him. I took the gaboon. I was like, whatever. That's fine. And that was the baby. I don't know if you remember, there was a baby. I had 2 rhino and a gaboon in one of my videos. That was the baby gaboon. I forget the guy's name. I honestly do. I feel bad, but I got a baby gaboon. I got a rhino, that one, and that was the show that Al Caritz saved my life because I was going to get the taipans, the endlands off of Mitch, and Mitch hands them to me, and I'm just walking around with them, and I was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm going to buy these off Mitch." He goes, "No, you're not." He goes, "There's no AV in the United States for them." I'm like, "So?" He goes, "You'll die." So I went and gave him back to Mitch.
Yeah, my buddy Chris has some taipans, and they're awesome, but I don't know.
They're insane. I wanted them. They were just babies.
Yeah.
And Mitch was going to give them to me, and or not give them to me. He just was like, "We'll figure it out later, Karen." I'm like, "Whatever." I had these paratype hands. I was like, "Yeah." And do you know something really funny? I've been friends with Al since 2005, and I've never gotten a snake off of him. Al Fritz, ever. Now Joe, Eric, one of Joe's friends, Ray Gushaw, all the people down in Florida would send me snakes all the time. Yeah, not many people know that. My venomous collection, people would just send me boxes. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Look at what's in here. Yay.
Nobody just sends me boxes of venomous.
Well, it was because I had TRR back then. And
but back then you were the venomous guy, man.
Yeah.
Like, I almost bought I can't remember if I did or almost, but I remember the rhinos, and it was like a buffet that all the vendors went to after the Detroit show. Yeah. And like Brian Barczyk was there talking about YouTube, and the wife was like, "What's YouTube?" And I was like, talking about rhino vipers, and you just piped up out of nowhere. He's like, "How many do you want?"
Well, funny story to bring up Brian is that was one of the things when Snakebite season 1 was happening. I was there all the time.
Yeah.
And he wanted venomous there, and Lori wouldn't let him have it. Lori said no.
She still won't.
And I was like, "Well, Lori, I'll bring him in." And she goes, "If we can get Brian out of here, you can bring him to here." That's what she would say. I'm like, "Well, how are we going to shoot snake bites and do this?" I was like, "I'll bring a cobra. I'll bring a gaboon or something, maybe a buzztail or two." And she was dead set. Brian could not touch them.
Right. Well,
it was weird.
I understand, and Lori holds her ground to this day. I've been up there a couple times. I dropped off one of my cages for Bruce.
Yep, Bruce.
Yep, I dropped off one of my arboreal cages for Bruce, and me and Brian were talking for like an hour and a half while we were there, and he said, "Yeah, it doesn't matter what cage I get. Lori's not letting me get a venomous snake, because if I have a venomous snake, I'm going to want to play with it." So, love him as I do, he probably just shouldn't have the venomous.
I don't think he would do bad.
He wouldn't do dumb things with it for sure.
Because he did Venom Hunters. And I know a lot of people frown on that. It was something that he chose to do, and whatever, he chose to do it. But I don't think he would do something stupid with venomous snakes. He does work with Bruce's cobras. He does a very good job with it. I don't see him do mistakes there.
No, I see his handling just fine when he's working with that stuff.
Because people are like, "Oh, he's not looking at the camera," and I'm like, "Well, there's 3 other people there. With hooks, there's people you don't see on the camera. I guarantee it." But I honestly think that Venom, if he got like, I don't know, maybe a Western or maybe a Cobra for that reptile zoo, a monocle, because the AV wouldn't be that expensive for a monocle Cobra for him to keep on hand.
No, I mean, Tom Crutchfield produces tons of it.
So, I mean, and it wouldn't cost him anything to get the venomous because he is friends with so many people that do have venomous now.
I offered him a cage. I told him I would donate one to the Reptarium for him if he ever got venomous.
Because I honestly think that it would be a good thing. Now, do I like some of the things where he does where, like the venomous lizard bit him, and that's when, the Michigan thing was happening. I wish I tell people I understand why he does it. I don't agree with it. I understand why he does it. He gets views. He gets paid by views. Right. I'm going to say this right now. He probably gets paid more off YouTube than he does BHB and the Reptarium.
I promise he does. There's no doubt.
I mean, he went from back in the day before Snake Bites was big. I was bigger than him on YouTube.
Yep.
I was the man. And then when my channel got hacked, I went away and I didn't upload nothing, and he grew. It was him, Ralph Davis. And now Al Critz is still going, but I don't think Al Critz even has 2 million subscribers.
No, he doesn't.
Brian just hit 3.
Yeah, Brian just hit 3. I'm going to look up Viper Keeper because
he's got like 28,000 or something like that.
Let's see, he's got 901 videos, and let's see here. Oh, don't even tell me on this page. Jeez, I'll just hit a video. That's what we'll do. We'll hit a video. He has. It doesn't even tell me. Does he have it like blocked?
Yeah, he probably does.
Oh, well, anyways, but I mean, I'm a big venomous guy, and I want to get back into venomous, but in the county that I live in, I can't. I live in Brown County. but there's loopholes. If I do like a zoo type educational center, I can get around them laws.
Right.
But I don't know if I want to get around the law. I think I want to just go somewhere where it's
Where you can have it.
and I can do the educational center. I have friends, you know, I just say, hey guys, I want this, and I'll get a box. Right. So I want to do, and your caging is what I thought about. I was like, this caging would actually be, you know, really, really safe. And it wouldn't be nothing to put a clear back on the back of that. So you put the cage out looking at somebody and you're looking at the front side you have now for working in the back of it.
Yeah.
You know, the back room, and then the other side's all clear plastic or glass.
I have so many ideas of things that I can do with these in the future.
I honestly think that you should be talking to zoos.
Yeah, my wife is the same thing. She said
that's what I was thinking.
Talk to zoos, and my wife says that I should be going to these cities that like are legal for stuff but have like anti-venomous laws and say, hey, what if they use this cage? Could they get a permit?
And because your cage is actually a really good design. And if you need zoo connections, I do have some. And then of course Ryan of the Master website has more.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I do have some zoo connections. I mean, Jim Harrison. Have you talked to Jim Harrison about it? Maybe getting him some.
I haven't talked to a whole lot of nobody other than going to the shows and just blowing up Facebook and doing whatever I can.
Jim Harrison is a hard get. Jim and Kristen are amazing people. I love them like family. They are a zoo. They do venom production, but they might have a use for this cage. They actually might.
Right.
So that would be a play. I mean, if you talk to zoos, making it safer on a zookeeper, that's kind of a big deal.
I've been contemplating if things go well this year and I can afford to do it, I'd like to take like a stack of them and, have a list of places that I want to go and just go drop one off and here you go, try this and then call me if you like it.
Yeah. I mean, another one is Terry. Talk to Terry Phillips.
There's a big one. Yeah.
Terry's real good people, man.
Yeah.
I mean, even if he says I don't need the caging, I mean, he's a venomous head like we are.
Right.
And he comes from the zoo side and he might have a connection of people that could use it. I mean, you have something I actually believe in. And to tell you the truth, your caging and you are the reason I wanted you to be the first one on the YouTube interviews.
That's awesome. That's cool.
I mean, we're venomous people. That's just what we do.
And I get asked all the time, like, how'd you come up with this idea? I keep venomous snakes. I kept them for a long time, and I wanted to make my life easier.
Yeah.
I got kids, and I'm not going to give up my passion just because I have kids. And I don't worry about my kids. They come into my room while I'm working on my stuff, and my 2-year-old will walk right up to my Mojave's cage and say, "That's my naughty snake."
Andrew,
I will tell you, your Mojave that you took, your Mojave you took to the show was a killer animal.
Yeah, Jack is my homie.
I looked at him like, that animal's flawless.
Yeah. And you would never believe that half his face got attacked by a rat the first day I got him.
I couldn't even tell that. If you didn't say that, I wouldn't even have known.
You'd have never even known. I thought he lost an eye for a long time. And it was just a big chunk of scab that finally eventually broke free on a shed one day. And he looks like brand new. So his name's actually One-Eyed Jack, but he's 2 eyes. He has 2 eyes.
Yeah. Because I got so excited. I didn't know it was you at first. I just went over there and I seen the Mojave and I'm like, wait a second, who's got venomous at this show? And Mickey knows I'm a venomous guy. Right. He knows. I'm like, he didn't say nothing to me. And then I seen the cages. I'm like, oh, it's him. Where's he at? Then I seen you finally.
Right.
And
he's actually super tame. I hate to use the word tame with a venomous animal, but you've seen him at the show. He doesn't even like to rattle.
He was just like, I'm good. The venomous side of things, people don't understand. They're still a snake, and it can be calmed down like any other snake.
Right.
I mean, my big male boom slang, it would have never bit me. Never. I mean, it was wild caught. I probably had it. It was 7 to 10 years old when I got it. That thing, by the time it died, it was 22 years old. It didn't have an aggressive bone in its body. I could probably put a pinky or a rat on my hand like this, and would come up and take it out of my hand.
So my Eastern green mamba, I have to feed live from time to time because he's so gentle he'll just come up and take frozen thawed that his venom glands will get swollen every once in a while from not using them.
Seriously?
So, yeah, so I have to make sure. The first time it happened, like it got swollen and I was worried about it, and I sent some pictures to some friends and they said, that looks like his venom glands are swollen. And so I actually tubed him with a hopper and he just kind of just kept cramping and venom was just pouring out of the tube and pouring out of the tube. Day later, he looked like brand new again. So about
That's
every
nice.
fourth feeding, I'll feed live just so he actually uses it because I don't want it to happen again.
That's
Yes.
not a snake to get tagged by.
No,
That's
and
a
he's
nasty
and
snake.
he's literally so relaxed, it's not even funny. And I keep him in one of my arboreals, and when he's hungry, he'll go up into the hide box and he'll just stare at the feeding door and he just watches it and he won't stop. I go in with there, he grabs his food, and then he goes on about his business like normal.
Yeah, they can calm down. Like Kevin's got the king, that Venomoid king that he got donated to him, which I have a new respect for Kevin.
Yeah.
McCurley. Me and him went head to head back in the day. I don't know if you remember it because he let children near Venomoids and all that.
Yeah.
He did a video I didn't see until recently, about 3 years ago, that he said that he doesn't agree with it anymore. He thinks that.
Oh, yeah, I watched that. Like he's not about it.
And Kevin's really done a swing for me, And everyone used to say, "Well, you don't like Kevin, but you bring him up all the time." I'm like, "There's not many people like Kevin in the herp hobby.
No.
The guy's a genius. The guy just knows things. I don't know how he does.
He's forgotten more than I know.
Yeah, and I'm like, just because I don't agree with something they do doesn't mean I hate them. And Kevin McCurley is a cornerstone of knowledge.
Yeah.
He probably seen stuff that no zookeeper's ever seen.
I guarantee it.
He's a reptile whisperer. And the same thing can actually be said about Brian, because what you see on TV or YouTube,
that's
not Brian Barczyk.
It's not Brian Barczyk. That is YouTube Brian.
Ready for this? Brian Barczyk is one of the most calm, laid back. Yep, I'm here. That's how he is in real life.
Yeah.
Like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
And then online, if you guys watched the beginning of his stuff, it was super, super excited. And then he did that voice thing where he started talking quieter for like a year because he was trying to get that excitement. He was trying to find that level.
Yeah.
And now he does what he does. But yeah, everyone's like, "Oh, that's Brian." That's not Brian in real life. That's what you see on YouTube.
I have to be myself on my videos. If you watch my videos, you can tell the ones where I'm trying to like do extra and it's just not me and it comes out weird. So I just decided, screw it. If you want to watch my goofy ass, I'll teach you some things from time to time. I'll show you some cool stuff, but I'm going to be who I am.
I honestly think that you're an important part to the hobby. I mean, you came up with an idea and you made it. How many people can do that? You came up with an idea and you created your idea.
Good point.
And I risked everything to do it. I sold 80% of my collection and, went all in on this when I decided, I started out with the plastic ones that I was plastic welding. I went to a couple shows, see if people like them, and they went crazy over them. And honestly, now looking at the version I have now, I can't believe I ever even went to a show with my original one because, I still use them. They work, but man, they were nothing but.
You're a creator and you love the hobby and you can tell by your design. You thought of it, like you said, the keeper side, not a money side.
Yeah.
How can a keeper use this? And the first thing I was going to ask you, and you answered it. I'm like, is there a way to tell that it's shut? And you pulled it out, and that's when it's shut. I'm like, oh, you can physically see it shut.
Yeah.
Which is huge. I think it's priceless for the safety that it adds, and I think you should be in zoos. I think you should be talking to some investors.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to work my butt off to make this the new industry standard for venomous keeping in the next 5 to 10 years. That's my goal. And I won't stop till it happens because you know what I hate seeing more than anything? I hate walking into someone's house and they have a pet rattlesnake and it's in complete utter filth because they're way in over their head. Now, honestly, I don't think they should have the snake to begin with. But when someone decides they want something, they get it anyway, and they will find someone to sell it to them. I guarantee you. At least if I can convince them to put it in my cage, that snake's going to live a healthier, happier life.
Because they can block it off and they feel safe.
Yeah. Yep.
I think when it comes to the laws and stuff, I think your caging would be very detrimental to getting it so that they can relax a little bit on the laws due to the fact that you can actually clean the cage without having to remove the animal.
Right. So,
And I think that makes a big.
And I do plan on eventually I want a removable shift box that will attach to the built-in shift box, but that's a really complex, tall order to land. But that's my eventual plan. So that way, if someone did even say have a medical issue, they could go and lock it up into the one hide box, put the other shift box right attached to that, open it up, transfer it to the other one, lock it out, and then take that whole shift box right to a vet.
I like it. Another person you should talk to is Ty.
Ty?
I mean, yeah, because he doesn't have. I don't believe he has venomous down in Iguana Land. But
I don't know. I don't think he does. I talked to Ty a couple times, but every time I call him, he wants to sell me like 30 adult tegus. Or every time I message Ty, he's like, "Do you want to buy this entire collection of something?" Ty, I'm like, I have reptiles in 2 rooms already. I'm trying to No, I don't want to buy 32 adult tegus.
And Ty's one of the people who'll just send you something too. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, I like you. Here's a tegu, or here's a good iguana."
Yeah, I love Ty. He's awesome. And dude, his place, I can't wait to see that place.
I want to get down there. He's invited me down to, and I want to get down there so bad. I told him I'm not going to get down there until after it opens.
Right.
I got, and I can say this here now. I can go to Jim Harrison's and film. He'll allow me to go in there and film.
Awesome.
But he knows that I'll give him exclusive rights to say if I publish it, I'll give it to him and say, "Can I publish this?"
Right.
But me and Jim think the same. So I told Jim, I'm like, I'm not, and he goes, I already know. The funny story about Jim and Kristen, I called Kristen. I don't want to mention the person's name. He is known in venomous. I got a call from his girlfriend at the time that he was bit by a certain snake, and I forget the snake, tell you the truth, and no one would answer to anyone else, but I called Kristen. She picked up. It was like 3 a.m. I'm like, hey, so-and-so got bit by the snake. I don't think it's medically significant unless he goes into something bad starts happening to him. She goes, it should be fine. If he feels, go to the hospital, but he won't need AV. And he ended up making it. He was fine. But she wouldn't answer the phone to anyone else.
Right.
It was just funny. I was like, I'll call her.
So, Joe, do you do any breeding of any kind?
So I've bred quite a few Atrox and Copperheads. The other stuff, I'm still up and coming with it. It'll be next year before any of my Cobras are to size to breed. Or actually, my Mamba's in a breeding loan right now for my buddy Chris down in Texas. So
the green?
Yeah.
That's going to be kind of cool.
Yeah, so he's had a female that he's raised up from a baby, and she was ready to go. I think he said his female was 4, and then my male was 3. So we went up there and put them together and crossed our fingers that they didn't kill each other because they're not immune to their own venom.
Same thing with typists. Typists aren't either.
And so far, so good. They haven't eaten they wouldn't eat each other, but they haven't killed each other. And but we haven't seen any signs of any swelling or anything yet. But
I'm crossing my fingers on that one.
Fingers crossed, because that would be really, really cool. I breed Uromastics. I breed boas. I breed retics. I do stuff like that.
What Euros do you breed?
So right now, just the common stuff: reds, yellows, ornates, dispars. I'm trying to get some of the other stuff, but my problem is with this, everything that I have is going all into this cage company. Like, I'm putting every single effort into it. And every time an opportunity does come up for something like that, I'm either 5 minutes too late, like when Arid had his Thomasize post on Instagram, and I messaged him 38 minutes later and he was sold out. And he posted a picture of him hatching. 38 minutes later, they were sold out. Or I was just recently at a herp show, and they had an entire tub of orange banded, or barred banded. I don't know which way they actually technically go on them, but the orange and black banded ones.
Yeah.
$500 a piece. Captive born babies, had a whole tub of them, and I didn't have a cent to my name. Until I did, and they were sold out. Which, of course, because they're $1,200 a piece, Uromastics. But I'll get there one step at a time. Like I said, I'm more worried about getting this cage out into the industry than I am about producing more reptiles. I have a decent enough collection that I get to enjoy, and now a lot of my stuff with the venomous is testing new stuff. So, the whole reason I got my Mamba to begin with is because I made that arboreal cage, and I was like, I wonder if this will actually work. Like if a snake will use it. I was literally at Conroe, and next to me was Fascination Herp. I love Fascination Herp. They have amazing stuff, and they had a green mamba there, and I was like, that would be a good one to test out. Let's take an extremely deadly, crazy, smart, and intelligent fast snake and put it in the cage and see if I can live.
Hey, let's not do Waggler Eye or palm vipers or something like that. Let's just go to greens.
No, I believe in my company that much, and that was literally what I tested the arboreal cage with. Worked out beautiful. But I do have the capability of knowing how to work with that type of snake. I've worked with them at other facilities. Even my Cobra that I brought home with my daughter, that wasn't my first Cobra that I'd ever dealt with. I'd worked with hundreds at other people's facilities. It was just the first one that was mine.
Yeah, and I always tell that to people. I'm like, if you work with Cobras, doesn't mean you're ready for the Vipers, and Vipers and vice versa. Every single snake's going to be different. Every single species. And it was just funny when you said that Cobra's easy to work with. I'm like, man, you're so right.
Yeah, it's you can manipulate them, and like especially if you have a second person. Yes, it's a corn snake then.
It basically is. Andrew's like, what? And I'm like, Cobras are easier to work with, and if you ask everyone that's been bit by them, like David Weathers, when he got bit in the stomach, it was his fault. And I can't think of his name. He's going to kick my butt. They got bit in the hand by the King Cobra. He was, free handling it up, and it turned and bit him. Tyler. And he went back and handled that Cobra.
Yeah, and he admitted it was his fault.
Mm-hmm.
No. What's his name? We got bit in the stomach though. That's because he was trying to put him in tubs.
Yeah, he was tubbing them. I'm going to be honest. Joe knows us old venomous keepers. Even the new ones keep venomous in tubs.
So I was that guy. My first ever venomous that I personally owned was a pair of Ruber rattlesnakes that I bought in the back parking lot, packing up from the San Antonio show that Reptile put on like 15 years ago, when they had the big venomous show there in San Antonio. I was packing up, and some dude in like cut off shorts and wife beater t-shirts, like, yeah, man, I'll sell these to you super cheap. Like, I don't want to take them home. And I was 17 years old, and I was in Texas vending shows on my own. And I bought a pair of Ruber rattlesnakes in the parking lot at the back.
What a nice way to break into it.
Yeah, and I convinced the wife that, I'll just sell them or whatever. I had those Ruber rattlesnakes until they passed away, and I had them for a long time. God knows how old they were when I got them. But
they were adults. They were adults.
They were adults when I got them. So like that was my first that I ever had. I had worked with all sorts of crazy stuff, but I just decided, I'm going to buy these in the parking lot. 17 years old, drive back to Wisconsin, keep them in plastic tubs underneath my bed in an apartment complex. Yeah, I was that guy too, man. Like
every hot keeper was. We all were.
So, what is your favorite species to work with?
That's such a tough question. So I was just at Emily's place at Snake Discovery. She asked me the same thing, and I gave her 7 different answers, and I realized I just love working with all of them. Like I can't choose. Now I'll have ones that I prefer to handle if I have to, which is my Gaboon. If it comes to my Crotalus, my Mojave, and that's just because he's chill. I have Atroxes that I despise working with, but I still enjoy them. I don't know. I love them all, honestly. I would say if I have to work with, it's going to be Cobras, my Gaboon. That's, the only rattlesnake I don't mind messing with is my one Mojave, but that's just because of his personal demeanor.
Yeah, and it's a Mojave. Mojaves aren't known for that.
They're a little more laid back in general. Yeah.
So
how many different species do you have, if you don't mind me asking? Do you know? I've asked that to a lot of people, and they're like, I don't know.
He's counting.
I think I have 12 different species right now. But I have just of Atrox, I have 15 different Atrox.
That's pretty cool.
That is very cool.
But that was my like first real addiction to venomous was Atrox because I could get albinos, and then I found out you can get patternless. But wait, there's purple haze. But wait, there's melanistic. And then hold on, if we breed them together, we get bubble gums, and that's where Atrox got me addicted.
If Atrox were cooler, I think they'd be more widespread. But they're just adult Atrox is a pain in the ass.
Well, and honestly, I understand that the thought of having a cobra sounds cool, but if you own a venomous snake, like for the people that just want the cool factor, they don't care what it is as long as it's venomous. You don't see Atrox in every house around the country. You see monocle cobras everywhere.
The monocle cobra is a corn snake. Like I said, that's what I think of monocle cobras is corn snake.
And their morphs have gotten crazy too. You should talk to Rat Trap. They just produce. I don't know them personally, but I just like talked to them a little bit on Messenger the other day because they just had a clutch of like 15 different morphs of monocles, and they were stunners, like sulfurs and melanistics and like melanistic speckles and like all black monocle, like no monocle on the head, anything with like little white speckles down their back.
What's sad is when I was in the venomous heavy, it was the leucistic that was big.
Yeah, well, them are still really popular too. And now my buddy Chris has a pair that are called highlighter monocles. They start out yellow as babies and like almost white, and then they turn yellow and morph into an orange snake. Or they start out white and turn yellow. That's
okay. We should get Emily into venomous snakes. I wonder how she would deal with that.
From Snake Discover?
Yeah, we should get some.
So she's planning on getting a pygmy or a Massasauga and a timber because she wants the local species.
I was just gonna say, is it because of local?
Yeah. Yep. But see, it's tricky because timbers are protected everywhere.
Is she going to try to be an accredited zoo or is she not?
So I don't know, but I know that the DNR told her that if they are owned from a legal state, she can display them there.
Okay. Because the law's weird in Wisconsin. Like, I can go out and I can catch a bull snake, and I probably get in trouble for it because I sell and breed reptiles. But the kid down the street probably won't get in trouble.
Well, so you can, even if you sell and breed reptiles, you can collect and keep up to 5 of each species as long as they're not endangered.
No.
But if you breed them, what are you going to do? Because as soon as you breed them, you're over your limit. Yeah, and you can't sell them. So, like, even if you bred them and said, I'm going to go to Texas and sell them.
That's why I think if she became an accredited zoo, but you can't be accredited, I don't believe, until after you're set up and then they inspect you.
Yeah, I don't
believe that's how it goes.
And I don't know how all that works with privatized zoos and whatnot.
Because, well, I mean, Ty got accredited.
Okay.
He's already accredited. But Ty's a little different because he's worked with zoos for so long. But I'm sure Emily, if she played her cards right, Emily's very well respected, as you know.
Oh, yes, definitely.
I mean,
I went and helped her out at a zoo and had my biggest video yet.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be hard pressed to find anything wrong with Emily.
No,
she just loves animals.
That's one thing.
She's a great educator.
How Brian's not Brian on camera. Emily on camera is Emily.
Yep.
That is her, 100%. I met Emily when she was still in college, and she was just doing a few bird shows, and she wanted to start reptile shows. So she came to the Cold Blooded Expo, and she was mining vendors. You know, you want to come to this new show, and I'm always about trying a new show, especially if it's in my state, because I'm so used to going to Texas and everywhere else. I'll pay $100 and go get 2 tables at any show in my state. It's worth it to me. It's $100 to vend a show. I'm in. I don't care if I make any money. I'm down.
Yep, exactly.
So I met her back then, and that is the exact same person she is to this day. Is that bubbly, just happy, loves everything, wants to do so much good. Man, Emily and Ed are both just amazing people.
So, where do you see, like, how do you see the venomous hobby evolving over the next few years? And do you see these new laws that they're trying to pass everywhere affecting it in any way?
So I can see it going one of 2 ways. I can either see it to where in the next 20 years, none of us are going to be able to keep anything unless we're a licensed zoo. Or I can see people starting to do things differently, and because this is a problem that I see, and I love USARC as I do, and all the other programs that are out there. When it comes to a venomous situation, nobody stands up for it. Nobody stands up for it. I'm in reptile groups that you can't talk about venomous in. It's part of their rules. And you ask these people, admins of these groups, how come we can't talk about venom? Even back when like stuff was for sale on there before it was a big deal. Nope, you can't sell it. Why can't I? It's legal in my state. And they'll tell you, well, we don't want to draw attention to it, so they bring laws down on it. Why? The venomous community needs to stand together. Everyone needs to stop bitching at each other about he's a free handler, he's doing it this way, he's doing it that way. We all need to realize we're on the same team, come out of our hiding, and work together as a team. Because I hate to break it to you, the venomous community is a lot bigger than people think.
The venomous community is big, and it's really tight. And how should I say? There's cliques.
Yes.
There's cliques. Like there's this clique over here, and they're very tight. It doesn't matter what a person does in that clique; they will defend that person to
the end.
And then there's this clique over here, and then there's this clique over here. So like everyone in the venomous community is huge, but we kind of all know each other.
Yeah.
So, it's like.
I think if we can all come out of our hiding and work as a team and start fighting stuff together, I see this the venomous hobby becoming way more popular in the future.
Ohio lost their stuff with Be Gone. I went to Wisconsin back in 2010, 2011. They passed all them laws.
Well, one thing I have to say about the venomous community, you never hear of an outsider getting bit and dying or anything like that. It's always the keeper themselves that run into trouble.
It's never happened.
It's never like a person, like a friend or like an innocent person.
A third party's never been bit by a captive.
It's always the person who owns the animal that that runs into trouble.
Well, because most of us aren't going to let someone else do anything stupid with our animals, because
this won't happen.
It's just not going to happen. Like, there was a time in my career I did dumb shit with venomous snakes, but I wouldn't have even at that time, I wouldn't have let someone else do the same thing, even if they had my skill level. You do that with your snakes at your house.
And that's why you usually see bites too. And if it's I forget the gentleman that was bit by the gaboon in Cincinnati. He was a firefighter. Forgot his name. He died. That was back in like 2009, and I was involved in the talk. They were going to try to shut it down then. They were going to try to shut down venomous then in Ohio. And then once I left, I don't know who else was fighting it. Once I left, it was like, boom, this law came up and they passed it. I was like, are you kidding me?
And nobody stands up. Like, even reptile people are all about shutting down venomous stuff or adding more laws to venomous. I hear it all the time.
And to tell you the truth, 95%, I would say 95% of venomous keepers are more secure with their reptiles than any other species.
Yes, I would have to agree, because most venomous reptile keepers, at least most of them, I don't know how, can't speak for them all, but I know that a lot of them, their rooms are escape proof. Even if the animal were to get out of the cage, it can't get out of the room.
Right.
Where the average reptile keeper, if their animal gets out of the room, out of their cage,
anywhere in the house,
it's in the house, in the neighbor's yard.
How many posts have you seen? My lizard gecko's been gone for 3 days. Where should I look?
Exactly. I had a lock on the door to my venomous rooms. They were locked. You had to get a key, unlock them, get in, and then all the cages were locked. Yeah. Now, if I was in the venomous room, I'm not going to lie, I would unlock every single cage I was going to work with. I just did it. I was like, I'm not going to do whatever. You can see, I should start uploading the ones I have, because I got like stacks of, Mojave rattlesnakes and visions.
Right.
And I'm showing them off, and I'm feeding chicks, but they're all open. And they're like, you're going to get bit. It's got a chick in its mouth. It's not going to do nothing to me. But yeah, I agree with you. Venomous keepers should be sticking together more, because it is cliquish. It is.
Yeah, and I'm the first person that'll advocate there is a safe way to keep these animals. Especially if you're not even trying to be a breeder, if you just want to be a keeper, you get the proper caging, the proper husbandry set up, and get a quality animal, especially in one of my cages, you would never have to touch that snake its entire life. And
Unless
it would live.
a health issue popped
Right,
up.
that's what I'm saying. Which at that point, usually it's a husbandry that caused that to begin with.
I'm telling you, I love your idea, and I honestly think that zoos would be a big deal for you for selling them, because I mean it might give you the capital to get that CNC machine. I mean, just you got into Chicago.
Probably 60% of my cost is my CNC that I have to pay for to be CNC'd.
I mean, it would be huge. Because, I mean, you wouldn't be going into, I don't know, San Diego Zoo might be somewhere, but San Diego Zoo don't have like a reptile house.
Right.
It's kind of spread out. Philadelphia has a reptile house. Toledo has a reptile house. And, you know, they're trying to produce animals, and your caging can make it safe for them keepers.
Yeah.
That would be the next step is they're threatening getting bit. And AV is really hard to get right now.
Dude, did you see Eric Vogel's post? He's on a wait list.
Yeah. And it's got a shelf life. So, I mean, this would add a safety. It's just huge. I honestly, though, I'm thinking outside. I think you already think of it.
Yeah.
Your safety, the safety you could offer to zookeepers, to private keepers is huge.
Yes, I was just thinking that same thing. Especially to zoos that have all them animals in the back that they don't have on display just for breeding purposes and stuff like that. You could cut a major risk down.
Right. Yeah, I think zoos are probably going to be my first step of really trying to like reach out beyond the show market, the Facebook market, because honestly, my initial thought when I did this is all the other keepers like me are going to want them. And you'll find out, I found out really fast, a lot of the old school keepers, they think you're telling them they're doing it wrong. And
I can see him thinking that.
I don't need that. I'm doing it just fine this way. That's true, but 90% of bites, you were either doing something you shouldn't have been, or you got complacent, which again, you were doing something you shouldn't have been.
Yeah, it's hard to get to the venomous people now. They should open up their eyes. I'm an old school, and I love your cage. Yeah. When I seen it, I really looked at it at the show when I got over there. I was like,
yeah, not all the old school keepers. I have some that are all in. People that have taken bites or know people that have taken bites, they're all. So I met my buddy Chris through a post about his bite. He got bit by a monocle during COVID. During the beginning of COVID and the huge shutdown, pandemic. So I'm not going to get too much into it because I'm doing a complete exclusive story with him when I go down to Texas in June for my channel. But he ended up surviving from it. And he had put a post online, and I just simply tagged my company like I do in all sorts of posts. I just tagged venom-proof cages, and I started catching heat. Like, how dare you try to promote your company and profit off from this guy's misfortune? You know how the venomous community is.
Yep.
and I'm a nice guy, and I'm not really honestly trying to piss off anybody. I'm just trying to like put this out there. So I just went ahead and deleted the comment. I didn't want to start trouble. Chris reached out to me and said, dude, why'd you delete that comment? Put that back in my thing. I've never even heard of your cages before. If I'd have known about it, dude, that could have saved me from getting this bite. And now Chris actually gives me ideas for new designs and stuff because he's been keeping venomous for 20-some years. He's got taipans and king cobras. He's got crazy stuff. And he'll be the first to tell you he got complacent one day.
That's all it takes. Is because Al says it to me. Al, you say it all the time. He goes, "It's not if you get bit, it's when."
Yeah.
And your cages can take a lot of that win away.
A lot of times. Yeah.
It can. And a monocle cobra bite, even though we're saying they're corn snakes, is not something to be bit by.
Right.
It's a very nasty bite. It's a nasty bite.
So how do you? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. I mean, I'd rather be bit by that than Atrox. But
how do you feel about mentorship? Because I know a lot of venomous people don't like to mentor new people. I've heard a lot of people complain about it.
So mentorship for me is a double-edged sword. Do I think the ultimate way to learn how to keep venomous is to find a very knowledgeable, safe mentor and mentor under them? Absolutely, that's the best way to do it. It's just literally not an option for most people. And then say you're brand new to this, you're just into reptiles, you've been working with boas and retics, and you want to go to the next level and you want to get into mentorship, you might get a mentor that's not a good mentor. And you won't know that because you don't know nothing. And you're just going to assume that because this guy's, I know people that have kept venomous for a decade that shouldn't have a single one of them, you know? And I know people that have kept venomous for, 5 years that I would consider some of the safest, most educated people that I've ran into. So mentorship can be a double-edged sword. So, and a lot of mentors, the good mentors, don't have time and don't want to take the risk to really bring on people. So that's where I'm at with the mentorship. I think
same thing.
It's so hard.
Yeah, because I don't want to mentor somebody and teach them venomous snakes and then them tell everyone, well, Gary mentored me, and then they have bad habits.
Right.
And then they get bit. And that's something else. Like, you're in Florida, if someone signs off on your hours,
right,
and you're the next person to get bit.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good. I don't remember the last bite that happened in Florida. Was it your friend? Was it Chris? Chris isn't in Florida, is he?
No, he's
okay.
Texas.
I was going to say, I don't remember when the last bite in Florida was, but yeah, that's why I don't like mentoring. And people always ask me, they ask me to this day, I don't know if you got to ask, can you mentor me? And I'm like, no.
People want to pay me to mentor them. And that I definitely won't do.
Yeah. I don't want to put my name on teaching someone something that could kill them.
Right.
Because let's be honest, venomous keeping, you can die.
Yep.
There's no, you could get bit by a monocle cobra and go get the AV and you can still die.
Yep. I personally think someone is better off to start with a local venomous species where there's lots of anti-venom. Start off with it as a baby, because baby snakes you can put in another tub. Put that baby snake where it can't get out, and you can work with them hooks inside that tub to where it's not, you're pretty safe in that situation. You get the chance to learn that snake. I would rather have someone do that with no mentorship and build their way up than have someone go and get a bad mentorship from someone that's doing things the wrong way and then think they're an expert and they go and buy someone's whole collection.
Yeah, or they mentorship with someone that has like 3 species and then they go buy the species they didn't even work with.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I worked with Atrox, so I can go ahead and King Cobra. Let's do it.
Get it.
Let's do it. And then they get the King Cobra and they're like, well, why isn't he eating? I honestly feel on Facebook, I don't know, was it like 3 years ago? Everyone, when the King Cobras were like huge, and everywhere. People were posting, mine's not eating. I'm like, leave it the hell alone.
Right.
You got to put it away. Because the white King Cobra, that's something I love with Kevin. I hope that thing survives, but it has that messed up face.
He's caught so much havoc for that, and it's like, we all know it's a situation that just happens to snakes sometimes.
Yeah.
It just, and we all know, of course, if something like that's going to happen, it's going to happen to the pride and joy of your collection. Never fails.
I'm hoping he can get it gone, and if anyone can do it, it's going to be
and that's what I'll say to anyone out there that's got anything to say about Kevin McCurley. If anyone can save that snake's life, that's who can do it. I don't care.
Exactly. Because that's what I try to tell people is they think that their little group. How I tell people, there was someone in Wisconsin, I won't name their name. They're like, well, this is the venomous community. I'm like, dude, do you know how big the venomous community is?
Right.
Truly, do you know who this person is? Well, no. I'm like,
I meet people every weekend that I didn't know existed that have huge collections.
Like, I want to get Ray Gushaw on here. I want to get I can't think of my buddy invented the egg incubators. Greg Madden. I'll be sending him. I found my Reptile magazine. He wrote the article for the Gaboon, and he doesn't have it, so I'm going to send it to him. So I won't have mine anymore.
You should get Andy Maddox on here.
I can get Andy on. Yeah, very much so.
Andy does some cool stuff. My fingers are crossed that he's successful with his kings this year again, because I'm on his list for one of them babies.
If you can get a baby king, what kings does he have? What locale?
So he has a Malaysian and Indo, and he makes crosses.
Okay.
Crosses. Yep. Actually, my buddy Chris's King Cobra, that's 2 now, came from Andy's parent.
Ball python eaters.
Yeah.
See, and
Am I allowed to say that on this podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's why I want a king cobra so bad, because I want to feed it ball pythons.
So that's a good one. Let me ask you this then. How do you feel about people free handling on YouTube? I mean, like you see these people that do the free handling and then other people see it and they don't have the experience and they think it's all.
So I'm not a fan of them putting it on YouTube, but I also understand why they do it. And I know the people that are doing it they can do it. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not against, I believe that we live in a free country and you should be able to do what you want to do in your own home. I'm not a big fan of them putting it on YouTube. I don't super hold it against them. I think that if your child watches a YouTube video of a guy holding the king cobra and then thinks that he can go and hold the king cobra, then you haven't done your job as a parent to teach your children not to be an idiot.
See, I agree with that to an extent.
I agree with that 100% also, yes.
The only thing I go off about is venomoids. Know that. Because
I am firmly against venomoids.
Because when certain people would let children hold venomoids, now that's hands-on.
That's bad.
Like, here, have this gaboon viper. It's a venomoid. I don't care if that's a venomoid gaboon viper or not. It's going to hurt you.
Everybody
So I mean that the free handling. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I did it, but I didn't put it on YouTube.
Right.
There were so many times I would just take a cobra without a hook and move it over. My boom slings, I would do it. I wouldn't do it to the gaboon. That's stupid.
Right.
But
I'll get one in a minute.
But I mean, we all free handle to an extent.
To a small extent, I mean, think of how many times you reposition a hook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But even those points, I try not to put online.
Yeah.
But that's just what I want people to see coming from me. You know what I mean? If Tyler wants to show people that he can handle a certain cobra or Chandler wants to show people that he's become one with king cobras and can do interviews with them around his neck, that's his prerogative.
I don't know. Do you know who Martin Smith is? He's a really good friend of mine. You know who Martin is?
I don't think so.
Okay, Martin Smith lives in Africa, and he broke the world record for living with 40 venomous snakes. I believe it was 2008. I'll message you, Martin, if you're watching. I'll find out. But he lived in a glass house in Africa, so everyone could see, with 40 native venomous snakes. He lived with them. We're going around. He slept with them and everything.
That's insane.
And it was for some charity over there, and he broke the world record. I don't know if it still stands to this day, but it was like 114 days.
It's got it probably does. I can't see another person wanting to beat that record.
So it was a really big deal back then, and I would chat with him when he was in. He had internet access, and it was really fun to do. And that's when I got gutsy and I took my boom sling, because he had a boom sling in there, and I was like, my boom sling's not aggressive, and I let it crawl up this way, went up and went up a shelf. and I was like, whoa, it's a different feeling.
Right.
Would I do it again?
Right.
No, but he was doing something, and he had all these venomous snakes with him, and he did it to show that you could be one. Now, if I'm against free handling, I would have been against him doing that.
Right.
100%, because he did that. And it was streamed. You could watch it.
I think the biggest reason I don't have a problem with what Tyler and Chandler specifically, because those are the two most popular ones that everyone sees out there are doing, is they let it be known that I have been doing this my whole life and I am a trained professional. I surround myself from professionals. You shouldn't do what I do. As long as you let people know that and you're very clear, which both, any channel that I see, they're very crystal clear about that. I don't have an issue with what they're doing.
Now, let me ask you this then. If somebody wanted to get into venomous, where would you start? Because I
would start at my website, get yourself a cage, and then once you have the cage, first figure out what species you want. Do every little bit of research you can about that species and realize if that's a species that you're willing to learn on. Because I'm not a big fan of people getting a snake to get them ready for the snake they really want. Just get the snake that you want, do everything that you need to in research impossible. And if the research shows that you can't have that snake, then don't go that route. get your husbandry set up properly, get all your safe, your hooks, your tongs, have a set up what's the word I'm looking for? A group of people that kind of know what you're doing. And the next thing I would recommend they do, and this is all before they get the snake, is message Joe Pittman and
I knew that was coming.
and get yourself some bite protocols, because nobody makes better ones, because there's no point. He already spent his whole life doing it for us, so we don't have to. And get yourself the bite protocols. Get everything set up first. You should be so ready for that, especially if it's your first. All of that's research, and all of your cage, your husband. I recommend your cage is set up for at least a week before you put an animal in it.
And contact your local doctor.
Contact your doctors, which Joe Pittman gives all that information in his bite protocols. In case I should do a video on that.
You should. That would be a great video.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the bite protocols no one knows about. Because if you get bit, 90% chance that you're going to know more than a doctor.
Yep.
Yeah. Because like when Ray Hunter got bit,
I got to put my dog on. I'm still listening.
Oh, no worries. That Eastern Diamondback, if you remember, he got bit in the hand.
Yeah.
His protocol saved his life, but I think they cut him that time. I think they did.
Yeah.
And he's against cutting.
My buddy's bite protocol saved his life. So, I mean, people need to do it right. They need to get everything ready, and then finally bring in the snake, and then don't be stupid. I'm going to do a video. I got a whole bunch of videos that I'm planning on doing, but one of them is, are you ready for your first venomous? And by that, I don't mean all the stuff I just mentioned, you as a person, because you and I both know we're venom heads. Owning a venomous snake gives you this sense of like more than a jacked up truck.
Yeah, you're right. You're right 100%, because once you get venomous snakes for the first time, the next time you walk into Reptile Expo, you're going to feel like you're above everybody else.
It's so weird, and you don't even mean it to be that way. Yeah, it's just like, but people will look at you that way too, like, oh, that he's a venomous guy.
That's what
people need to understand that can take control of you like an addiction real easy and get you into a lot of trouble. So making sure that you as a person are ready for venomous is a big deal.
100% with you. I mean, this 100%. I mean, you have to be ready. And the other thing I would add is AV. You got to find anti-venom. Do not depend on the zoos.
Right.
Do not. If you can afford the snake, you can afford the AV.
Right.
Find out because it's going to save your life.
So I just found out, actually, like, I've been learning a lot more about, because I'm one that, like, I have all the bite protocols. I've spoken to the hospitals. But any AV that I'm going to have to deal with is still going to come from other sources, and I want to change that. But I was always under the interpretation that a normal person couldn't do that until recently. The last few years. Eric Vogel just did it, so and now they're using cheaper antivenoms, and most of the time, and everyone's like, well, it expires. Most people that get bit and get saved, especially in these emergency situations, because they did add the protocols, are using 5, 6, 7 year expired AVs.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly. You got to have the AV. You just or an outlet for it, like an outlet. I mean, I don't know if a zoo would do this for you, but I mean, if you donate them so much money, maybe they'll keep AV on there for you for the species. But if you're going to have 5, 6 species.
My next step is to be able to get my own, because with my new expansion with the cage company growing, I'm sure that I just know how I am. My collection's going to grow, and where my bike protocols sit right now is my doctors know who to call, but it ain't my stuff if they have to call them. So, I do everything in my power to not put myself in a predicament to get bit, but I assume everybody else does too.
Your caging could lower the bites.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big thing. I mean, it's a huge thing. I just think that it would be. Me and Al Critch used to talk about it all the time, about anti-venom and, caging. And that's when usually the bites happen, is removing the animal from the cage.
Simple maintenance. It's generally simple maintenance where they needed to change a water dish, or, there was a turd in there, or whatever. It's always cage maintenance.
Yep, it's a simple thing. Like you said, it's just simple. It's never when you get fancy and you're taking it out and doing a video or something. That don't happen. It's that simple maintenance. And I just see a really big your caging can change venomous keeping.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it can change it for the better. It like literally, and I hate to gloat like this, but my caging could save the venomous community.
I agree with
And
you.
I wish that I could get that through to more people and they could understand that. Like I'm reaching a lot of people, but I'm only one guy on a small budget that only knows how to do so much. But, even the people that like my stuff, they're, a handful of them like you and a bunch of my people down south, they really push it. But people should like be on other keepers. Like, hey, man, we should really start thinking about doing it. It's not to say that if there's a situation you can't pull that snake out. It has a door that opens on it.
Yep.
But I'm working on a video that I got to finish yet. I actually broke it down into one person owning one cobra, and I broke it down. That snake's got to eat every 5 days. You got to do water changes every so often. This, that, and the next thing. And I even broke it down into okay, so you feed it and do a water change at the same on the same day. That could cut down these. It was still 175 interactions every year for one snake. And with my caging, you could reduce that down to if you didn't have a medical issue, to 0.
And that's if it's 0, you can't get bit.
Right. The claim I put on my company is reduced by 95% because medical issues come up, breeding comes up. But, realistically, if you have a pet that you keep husbandry wise and it's healthy, 0 interactions with that animal. And then you'll get some keepers that'll say, well, if you're not doing it all the time, you'll lose the knack for it. I just got on a crotch rocket today for the first time in 3 years, and I did 150 miles an hour and clutched up a wheelie like I was doing it yesterday. I haven't rode in one in 3 years. I got right back on it.
You don't lose it. You don't lose it.
If anything, you're in more danger when you do it 24/7 because it becomes routine. You let your guard down.
Oh yeah, especially I used to find myself letting myself guard down with baby pygmies.
Yeah.
Because you can't hook baby pygmy rattlesnakes. It's just impossible.
No.
So I would just scoop up the litter with my hand and put it in another. And I caught myself doing that. And I'm like, well, anytime that little thing's gonna tag me, it's just gonna happen. And it never did. But you're right. It's the everyday things that you're doing. You're just you want to do it quicker. You want to do it faster. And this actually adds speed to it too. You just
so much speed. And certain ones of my snakes have gotten used to the noise of that door hitting the that clunk clunk clunk.
Yeah.
And you can watch them if they're out in the thing. They'll go get in their hide box. They know they're coming. They've figured out my routine. I'll start over there and I work by the time I get over there, all my snakes are in the hide box. They don't want me to bother them because they know if they don't go in there, I'm going to go in through the feed door with my hook and I'm going to annoy the piss out of them until they do anyway. So
that's awesome.
They started working their way in there.
I am glad you said that though, because I do see how you keeping the interaction down will keep you on your toes more when you do have to have an interaction, because then you're running everything through your head that could possibly go wrong.
Yep.
Where if you're doing it on a routine basis, you're kind of laxed a little bit. Well, I do this all the time. I ain't got nothing to worry about.
It happens to every long-term venomous keeper. We all get complacent at one point or another. I don't care who they are. I do it sometimes to this day. When I was dealing with my sidewinder that was compacted the other day, she was just so relaxed and happy to get that out that she was letting me get away with things that I would normally never do. And I was just so in the moment of helping her that you can even watch my video, there was times that I got a little bit more comfortable than I should have. So where someone that's not doing it on a regular basis, they wouldn't even think about doing something like that.
Another thing I'm glad you said is, and you don't hear a lot of venomous people say it, is don't start off with one thing and work your way up to what you want. Do your research on that one animal and just get it right away. And
I have a lot of people argue with me on that, but I stand firm to that. I hate when people say, I'm going to buy this snake because I really want this snake. Well, what are you going to do with the first snake? Are you going to, and furthermore, no snake prepares you for the snake you're going to get other than the snake you're going to get.
Exactly.
A tiger rat snake does not act like a mamba.
Not even a little. Not even a little.
Tiger rat snake.
I hear people say that all the time. Get a tiger rat snake or a Crebo or something like that and work your way up to like a cobra.
is get a super aggressive or a super defensive snake that likes to bite all the time and see if you can avoid a bite. How is that preparing you for venomous?
Especially when you start talking about the buzztails and the gaboons, their strikes a lot faster
Right.
than gaboons and Russell vipers and their speed. They're just speed.
You'll learn a lot more about how to treat a certain species by watching and raising that certain species. That's why I recommend people get babies. It sounds silly, but you can take a baby and put it in a tub and you can move around with the hooks and you can start to learn how to read that animal. Well, when his tongue's flicking this way, he's about to shoot, or when he does this, he's about to do this, or and that's only helps you to a point, because we all know certain snakes are just do what they want, but you'll learn a lot more from that than you will from raising a snake that has nothing to do with the species you're getting, thinking that that's going to teach you how this snake's going to act.
Oh, very much so. I'm right there with you. It's craziness that people say, get the snake and it sets you up for that one. And you'll never get ready because you're always wanting that. The other one's not going to get the care.
Right.
Because you want the other one. And most people are going to get it and then 2 weeks later go, I could do it, and go get it anyway.
Right.
So, but I do agree with you. Don't get an adult as your first. Just get a baby.
Get a baby.
Yeah.
Because get a feeding baby, though. Don't get a. Make sure it's a baby that's feeding.
Yeah, make sure it's something captive bred too. If you're going to get into venomous, make sure it's captive bred. Don't get nothing illegal. Make sure the laws in your area, because if you're not following the laws in your area, it's going to create more laws. It's just a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
I don't want called up by my county saying, "Hey, guess what? Someone else has another venomous snake." Thanks, Gary. I don't want that.
Right. Exactly. That's the calls none of us want. We hate getting our shit back for free because the cops took it.
Oh, dude, there was a person in Appleton area that got their stuff taken away recently. It was like a year ago, maybe, and he had a Cayman, and he had a bunch of other stuff. But I was too late. But the Herp Society had people already on it.
I've seen that online. Yeah.
I called the police department, and they said, "Oh, well, we didn't take it." That's their exact words. We didn't take the animals, Gary.
Right.
I'm like, well, you guys didn't call me. Where'd these animals go? Oh, rescue's already got it. I'm like, which rescue? So they gave me a list of rescues, and I called them all, and everything was fine.
Right.
And then that recent one where the ball pythons were taken in Green Bay.
Yeah, I was in Texas, and I heard when that happened, and I was like, what the heck?
The guy wasn't breaking the law at all. It was something separate, and they took his animals.
That's what I heard.
But it had nothing to do with you can have ball pythons. They sell them at the pet stores.
Right.
I still don't know what I'm sitting there like, what's next? They're gonna knock on my door and take my geckos, but they know I have geckos. They give me alligators. They literally give me alligators. They confiscate, and I get rid of them.
Well, you've been around long enough, so you knew who Wild Bill was.
Oh, yeah.
Wild Bill's Exotics, and now he's going away because he just shot his old lady and their stepson. And that was because they stole all his reptiles. And he had Lacey monitors, and he had some cool stuff. And he found out that they stole it all and then just went over there and shot him.
Yeah, Wild Bill.
Wild Bill.
I don't know what else to say.
Anyone that knows him, that's all they got to say about him. Wild Bill.
Yeah, I mean, there's I forget his name. He was in Ohio all the time. Gosh dang it, my brother's gonna kick my butt. But his dad shot him. He would go to the Columbus show all the time, and once in a while he'd hit Brian Hahn's show in Indianapolis, and he was just one of them people that he would drink all the time, and he was always hustling animals, always. Right. And one day we just found out that his dad shot him. His own father was tired of him.
That's insane.
And he was like 40-something years old, 50 years old.
Wow.
Crazy. And I was like, I can't. Oh, Hale. I can't think of his last name, but his first name was Hale. Yeah, his dad shot him. I'm like, only in the reptile world. That's all I kept saying. Only in the reptile world, because there's been a lot of that.
There's a lot of people that are really worried about this new docu-series that's supposed to be coming out. You know which one I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I said it from the Tiger King came out. I said, dude, if they think tiger people are something, they don't know shit, because reptile people are way wild.
Well, yeah, with the Tiger King, there's 4 people involved. Well, there was more people involved with them, but there was like 4 major players.
Yeah.
There's some major players in the reptile world, and
Right.
I always tease, and there's people watching me probably right now gonna be like, "What are you saying, Gary?" But reptile breeding and dealing is like dealing drugs, but legal.
Yeah. I just bought 5 snakes in a gas station parking lot, like off in the corner.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I mean, everyone's like, "Oh, Gary, you bought them geckos for $500. Them 2 geckos, yeah, but they're gonna make me $4,000 the next 2 years."
Right.
So,
Okay.
and I tell people, I'm like, that's common stuff. Then you start getting into the legal stuff with, and it's always turtles. Have you ever noticed that? It's always turtles and tortoises.
So
Turtle, big one.
Do you remember Burgundy Reptiles?
Yes.
And so you remember how he got busted with bringing the stuff in with the boas, but then what actually sent him away was while he was fighting the court case from the stuff that he brought in with his Colombian boas, he got busted with 200 spotted turtles on his way back home that he just collected right after they made it illegal to collect them.
Yep.
And now no one's ever heard of him again.
He's gone.
Gone.
They're in Ohio. I know where to collect spotted turtles. I know an area that you can go get them. I will never collect them.
Right.
But I know someone that was collecting there, and I knew the guy. He was sort of a friend. I didn't know what to do if I turned him in. It put a black eye on us.
Right.
At the same time, but he ended up stopping. I ended up getting him to stop. I'm like, dude, you got to stop this. He goes, if I only take 10 to 15, I'm like,
that's a lot.
I'm like, dude, you got to stop. You just cut it. You know, you don't need to do. Why is it turtles? What is the
always
obsession?
Turtles? What about all the terrapins that dude just got busted with? They did like a 2-year investigation, 37 or 38,000 eggs that he dug up and hatched or some shit like that.
And here we can own terrapins here.
Yeah, I have terrapins at my house.
Yeah, I have terrapins. I'm like, if you can't do them in your state, just don't do them in your state.
Right.
You know, Blanding's turtles is another one.
Yeah, I wish I could keep them here because I see them on the roads all the time.
Yeah, Blandings would be fun.
One time, this is the only time I ever had a Blandings in my possession, and I didn't want. My grandpa he's passed away now, but he called me up and he said, "Joseph, I got this weird looking snapping turtle, and before I cut its head off and eat it, I want you to come look at it," because he was looking for snapping turtles to eat them.
Yeah, you're allowed to do that.
Yeah, whatever. If he wants to eat snapping turtle, more power to him. I'm not against anyone doing. I deer hunt. I'm an avid deer hunter. So I go over there, and he has this giant female Blandings turtle in the back of his truck, and I'm like, Grandpa, if you kill that turtle and eat it, you're gonna go to jail. So I took it back to my house, and I just set it up for the night because it was late outside, and I didn't want to just go release it at night. It laid eggs that night at my house.
Oh no.
So I released the female, ended up hatching out all but 2 of the eggs, and then I released the babies.
Well, that's cool of you, though.
So, but
man,
that was my only situation. But literally, the whole time I was incubating them eggs, I was just like, please don't let the wrong person come over. Please don't let the wrong person come over. Because
what are those?
right. Here I'm sitting with, 8 eggs in the incubator. I ended up hatching out 6 of them of the most protected turtle in my state. And it was only there because my grandpa thought it was a snapping turtle and was going to eat it.
Yeah, because Don Hamper had Blandings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something that he had. I remember Don Hamper.
It's funny you say it's always turtles because I do get people consistently like, you should bring me down one of these or one of these and I'll pay you this much for it. No, I'm good.
I get people say the same thing. They're like, oh, you can go collect that. I'm like, nope. I take pictures. That's it.
Yep.
I know when I did with the pet store, when we would go and to get the animals for the pet store, we would places where these animals were shipped into and stuff. They always had a room off in the back where somebody would come in and then they would go in that back room and then the guy would go in and I'd always go, what's going back there? He's like, oh, don't worry about it, but it's turtle situation, and it was always turtles and you couldn't, you can't get the turtle, but private collectors, they always went back and got their special turtle.
Yeah, because the last non-turtle thing I thought was big was the earless monitors. I remember when they showed up at Tinley. That was a big deal. But now that you can find them. So, I guess.
Well,
I don't know the legality of that.
It's kind of like the alligator lizards, you know. How'd them get here?
Exactly.
And look at the berm, the pied berm, supposedly only over in Europe. How'd that come over here in the last 2 years?
The biggest one I've ever heard was the albino carpets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Pure
carpets.
Darwins.
Yeah, the Darwins.
Yeah.
You know, because that's why I'm a purist, is because we can't get from Australian anymore. So any Australian species we have here, we got to keep pure.
Right.
The carpet community's so messed up.
I know. Everyone's over here, and why do they always smuggle in like the random weird stuff? Like, can't you, like, if you're gonna smuggle something in, go and smuggle me in some captive-born morphed blue tongue skinks.
That would be cool.
You know,
Blue tongues.
bring me some pied blue tongues one time.
And I honestly think that if it's a captive bred market, we should have open trade for captive bred.
I don't understand why we don't. Like,
I get wild caught because I
understand.
But the captive bred community should be able to like go, because the UK we can trade with the UK. Leopard geckos are easy.
Yeah.
You say you could trade with the UK, but then you got the red-sided garter snake from California that only lives on 1 acre of land. That's so protected you can't even take a picture of it, because if you even disturb it in any way, you go to jail. But they breed them over in Europe, and they're very successful at it. But you can't order one from Europe and have it come over here, because you would go to jail for having it.
There's certain laws that are weird. The captive bred market should be able to trade.
Yeah.
You know, when you talk about the carpet python, them Aurelia people are nuts.
Mm-hmm.
They get crazy. They get real crazy about stuff.
Well, that was one of the first species I ever bred was, jungles. And I got into that community really heavy. And, like Matt Lear with his emerald tree boas and his carpets. And then I decided, I was like, this is too much for me. And then I got into geckos, which is now I'm that guy with the geckos.
So, when I seen you in Janesville, because it's been years since I've seen you, Gary.
Yeah.
And I seen you in Janesville, and you had a table full of leopard geckos. I literally thought you were just talking to one of your friends at one of their tables. I was like, he can't have a table full of leopard geckos. What the heck?
Yep,
he went all soft on us.
Well, when I got rid,
I
did. Well, when I got rid of my venomous snakes, and I got rid of snakes, and I sold my half of professional herpiculture to my brother, I needed something else, and I was already breeding leopard geckos, and I had money invested in them, so I brought them over. Then I spent a lot of money with Matt Sassabeck, Reptiles, a lot of money, and I kind of took over that, and I brought my, genetic mind and my purity to the leopard geckos, and Matt was liking that because my carpet python purity came to the leopard geckos. I'm like, you can't cross that. What are you doing? And I used to. Joe knows I never touch 4-leggers. I would I don't want 4-leggers.
Right.
It had to be a snake. Had to be. I mean, I had the largest matlock python in the world. She was almost 11 feet.
Yeah.
And I had her. I would take her to shows. Like, here's some matlock python. Check this out. I mean, I wish my YouTube wouldn't get taken down because I have a hard drive full of all them videos, but it's broke. And I'm a computer tech and I can't fix it. I got to send it off to get it recovered. I should just spend $1,000 to get it done.
I would.
It has everything on it. It's 4 terabytes it's only in 320.
Right.
It's low definition, but still, it'd be cool to have them. Now if you want a camera, dude, you should get an M50. Look into it. It's not expensive.
I'm looking into an M50 now that you mentioned it so much because I've just been using my daughter's because I was just making a few videos, making it fun. I never thought it was really going to go anything, and now I'm actually having a blast with YouTube. Like, I love doing it.
You're doing a good job. And when you do get an M50, get the M to EF converter because the M mount is kind of a dead mount now.
Right.
It's dead, but you can get an M mount to an EF mount, and you can use all the EF lenses. The lenses that go to your camera now will fit it then.
No shit.
Yeah. It's so. I did that. I think it's like $80 for the mount or the converter. And
right.
You're good to go. And I think your YouTube's awesome. I got all your links in the description. People can hit it. I got their website because I was like stealing your pictures for stuff. And
I seen it on the thing. I was like, dude, he's got my logo and everything on there.
Because well, this is what I want to do. I want to promote the hobby, and you're one of the good people in the hobby, and you got to people that create are special, and you created something. You thought it in your head and said, "I'm going to create it," and you did. It's just a special thing. Not many people can do that. I tell people breeding leopard geckos, a 3-year-old could do it. I mean, literally, I could show a 3-year-old how to breed leopard geckos. I could show a 3-year-old how to breed almost anything, and you probably could. I mean, as long as you hit what it's supposed to do,
Dude,
it'll
a
breed.
3-year-old could breed Monaco cobras.
Yeah, very much so. You put them together, and they're good to go.
And there you go.
It's just your cages, I think, can change the game for venomous community, and we could have something to go to these lawmakers and say, "Hey, look at our caging. You come look at it," and you could literally have a lawmaker say, "Change that water bowl," and they could do it safely.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, you could have, if you had your caging in a zoo like Brian Barczyk's zoo, he could have his everyday keepers work with his venomous snakes.
Yep.
Not have a worry in the world.
Not have a worry in the world. Yep. And that's what I hear all the time. I've never seen anything like this before on the market. Well, because nobody wants to care enough about the industry to design something for a niche situation. Not that you could put anything in my cages. There's still a beautiful cage, even if you didn't have venomous.
Exactly.
I have people that buy them for tegus and savanna monitors and retics, because we all know how they can get from time to time. And then I have people that buy my 6-footers for boas, just because you can get a 6-foot by 2-foot by 2-foot cage for $749. So
I'm telling you, it's you got something special here, and I think that we're just scratching the surface. I'm just glad that someone like you is the one that did it. I was excited when I seen it. I got to touch one.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is just a cool cage. I want to put the gaboon in there now. That's what I wanted to do. I was like, let's put the gaboon in there.
And it's funny because I meant to get there early, because Mickey said, well, you should, instead of using your display cases, you should just set them up in your cages. And I was like, well, then they're used. And he's like, no, the fuck they're not. And he was going to let us do it that morning. And then I overslept because I was up.
I showed up early because I wanted to play with the gaboon.
Yeah.
I was like, Mickey, do you think I could play with the gaboon? He goes, people are here. I'm like, not tomorrow morning. Because I was going to get pictures of it. And then everyone got there. I'm like, it's okay. I like that you had venomous there, though. I did. Yeah. It made me all happy.
I love that Mickey allows me to do that, because it's not a venomous show.
Nope.
But he lets me display him there. And that's all I do is display him there. I brought a snake for Mickey one time. You know what I mean? But, if you're going to buy a snake from me, you're not getting it at the show. You're not getting it at the parking lot afterwards. You're coming back to my house afterwards, But I love that he allows me to display them there, because I get to educate so many people about them there. Because most people, a lot of people at that show, that's the only time they're ever going to be able to literally be that close to a venomous snake and have someone to tell them about it.
That was awesome. The alligator. Yeah. Do you know why I liked you having that alligator there? Because people would see they get big.
Yeah.
And that was a 3-footer?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, and he's not dwarfed. He's young. He's gonna get huge.
Because it's so hard for me to get rid of him. I just got a call, I don't know, about 2 months ago with a 4-footer, and the guy wanted me to give him money. I'm like, dude, it's gonna cost me $300 to get rid of it.
Right.
I'm like, you got it. You have, because me and Ryan talked about it. I'm like, I got to start taking money for it. I'm losing money. So they got to actually give me. I charge $400 to get rid of a gator now.
Right. So I bought the cage from the guy that we got our gator from, and I'm kind of the same thing. Like, if something like that comes, I'm not giving you money to take your animal. But the guy I got mine from, he raised it. He loved it to death. He went to the doctor and found out he had colon cancer, and they gave him like 6 months to live. So he loved that thing to death, and it was spoiled rotten. And so I was like, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $250 for the cage. It came with a 4x8 by 5 foot tall cage with a pond and everything in it. Like, it's a huge cage for that 3-foot gator, And I was like, I'll give you $250 for the cage, to help you out. He was so happy. And as a matter of fact, he comes up and visits him once in a while still, and it's awesome. But that's the only reason I ended up with mine. Don't get an alligator. They make terrible pets.
They do, and I go nuts when I see them at shows. I literally go nuts.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna see every single one of them back going through me. That's why I say every time. I'm like, all 5 of those are gonna go through me later in life.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So I rehomed 6 baby gators from Wild Bill just before all that stuff went down, because he showed up at a pet store trying to sell the local pet store all these baby gators.
Wild Bill.
Right. And the pet store was going to buy them and had no business buying them all. So I said, hey, man, why don't you come to my house and we'll work something out? And I ended up trading them some captive-born baby Uromastyx for them. And then it took me almost a year to find places where I was comfortable with them going. You know how it is finding alligators, proper homes. But yeah, and I only did that because I knew if I didn't, they were going to go to either that pet store or wherever Bill was going to take them to, and they were going to end up right back in my lap.
Yeah, they're dead.
Right.
Because baby gators die easy.
Well, we've had 2 situations where they've had to drain the McDill Pond about 20 miles from my house because people turned 3 or 4 footers loose out there because they got a warrant and had to run, for their warrant because they're on parole or whatever the situation is. And, let's just dump it in the pond and it'll be all right. And then they have to literally drain the entire lake to get them.
This is
and
crazy.
then they just kill it anyway.
The Facebook user has a question. Want to know if you were the one with the albino rattlesnake.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep, that was definitely me.
Yep, he had the albino, and was it a Lucy monocle?
No, so that's Super Sunset.
The Super Sunset, okay. I know it was a whitish monocle. I was like, which one was it? Then you had the Mojave, you had the Gaboon, and a gator.
Yeah.
And your boy was so proud of that gator.
I had my Sidewinder there, too.
Did I miss that? I might have missed it.
Yeah, I had my Sidewinder, and I think I had a Copperhead, too.
Oh, yes, you did have the Copperhead.
Yeah.
Copperheads are fun. I love Copperheads.
I'm a sucker for Copperheads. Like, I have a bunch of them.
See here, that's just. It says, I love that display. Me and my wife walked up. Yep, they started rattling, and it was awesome.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad that you loved it. That's why I do it. And actually, speaking of being a sucker for Copperheads, now I'm getting into cottonmouths, which I got suckered in to get into cottonmouth. My buddy, he's a cottonmouth Copperhead freak. Actually, you probably know him. They call him Nine Finger Sean.
I know Sean very well.
Yes. Okay. So it was at the end of the day, and he had this cottonmouth that he collected from the same pond that he got the albino from, or leucistic, or whichever one it is. But mine's from the same pond. And he's like, I'm not making any claims, but, it's about the same size. And I was like, yeah, it could have some possible genetics in there. I was like, what are they like? He's like, well, you got a lot of Copperheads. I was like, dude, I love my Copperheads. He's like, it's just like a Copperhead, just bigger. Boy, did he see me coming. It's just like it is just like a Copperhead that likes to completely trash its cage every single day, flip everything upside down, poop all over the walls. I mean, I love that snake, but God, are they a mess.
Sean got a lot of Sean's the one that took a lot of my Mojave Western Diamondback crosses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took him to a show. Won't say what show it is, and I just handed him a box. And I said, There you go, dude. He does house snakes. I don't know if he does house snakes anymore, but he used to do house snakes like heavy.
He does a bunch of different house snakes. He has, last time I talked to him, he had like 75 adult Copperheads.
Wow. And another thing, wow. And the other thing I was going to buy off Sean is right before my X thing happened, we were going to get a serval off of him.
Okay.
He had a serval. He had it at the Columbus show. I was looking at it. He had a serval there. What else did he do? I mean, him and his ponytail. Yeah. Does he still have the ponytail? I think he used to have a ponytail. Yeah, he's always had a ponytail.
I'm trying to remember because it's at Conroe and we were facing each other the whole show.
Yeah, he's good people. He's really, really good people. He was my venomous guy there at the Columbus show.
Right.
Me used to do the Columbus show all the time, and I'd go to him and say, "Hey, I got this. What do you got? What do you got? Let's do this." And
he's the nicest guy in the world. I've asked him. I bounced so many questions off from him when I first started working with, because I was all about the buzztails, you know.
Mhm.
So then I started getting some copperheads and stuff, and he was like a plethora of info for that, and he was so willing to help me. Matter of fact, I think we're gonna do some herping together this summer when I go down there again. That'll be
It'd be
fun.
smart. It'd be lots of fun. Yeah, he's the only one I trusted with the crosses, other than him.
Yeah.
And Jim got some too. I was like, dude, this would be nasty to be bit by. That's all I told him. I'm like, it'd be really nasty.
Well, I mean, that's what his shirt says. Getting bit sucks.
Yeah. Well, it's 10 o'clock. If you guys want to call it a night, it's up to you.
Holy cow, it's 10 o'clock.
Yeah, it flew. But we could get you on again, guaranteed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
So I appreciate it.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. You don't get I like what you're doing with this, man. This is gonna be awesome.
Yeah, we got I want to get you on again. I want to do this from the show. I kind of want to do this. I want to get Andrew down to maybe like Tinley Park or something like that.
Yeah.
And we sit and do a 2 to 3 hour show, and I hook up one of my cameras and one of us go out while we're doing it and showing off animals and talking to people. We'll get it.
That would be a blast.
Heck yeah.
I mean, Potter take care of me and let me do it. I know he would. I just say, Potter, I want to do it. So,
if he would let they let Reptile Radio people do it.
Yeah,
back in it, they should let us do it.
That's where you should talk to, is getting into the new Tinley Park in June, if you could do that one.
Yeah.
Because he will let you display there too.
Yeah.
Tim Cole has him there? I forget. I think it might be Tim Cole.
Yeah, but does he have the Illinois display license?
He may.
So, because there's like 7 or 8 people that have the license for him in Illinois, but I know Illinois is so damn strict. When I go down south, I drive all the way to Minnesota and around to not go through that fucking state because of the way they are.
You're right. You're kind of right. Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to talk to Potter. I know that he does. There's venomous snakes there though.
Right.
But your venomous Cajun would be a hit, and like you said, it could be for tegus, it could be for monitors, and stuff like that.
Doesn't the Pomona show also have venomous displays going on?
I don't know. I've been so
and that's a huge show in California,
So this year I've basically been trying to focus on, if it's other than local shows, basically all the hot shows, which most of them are herps. Well, there's another company that does venomous shows, but I don't do business with that company.
I think I know who you're talking about.
And then I think Dr. Death is still doing some hot shows in Indiana, but I won't do his shows either.
Yeah, I actually mentioned his name, I think, on a live, one of my lives, but I know exactly who you're talking about. He gets stuff shipped to him at the show, and he unboxes it right there.
Right there.
I actually bought. I'll tell you guys. I bought a bunch of snakes off him that came from Brian Barczyk that were Het Sunset and Het, gosh dang it, Viper Ball. Before they thought the Sunset Net was proven, he had a bunch of them.
Okay.
And I bought some of those off of him. I sold them. But I bought a pair of egg-eating snakes off of him. And I paid good money for these egg-eating snakes. He said they literally did not make it home from Indiana. And I lived in Toledo, Ohio at the time.
So way back when I first split off from Tom and launched off on my own, me and Tom had like a falling out and we're fine. We're good now, but he thought I was going to be his employee forever. And I've always had bigger, better aspirations than that. So I became one of Ron's little minions for a while back then, when I was 17, 18 years old. And I could tell you stories about how he does everything, and you would never, ever, ever. I won't even go to shows that his minions are at. Like, and I can pick them out of a crowd. Like, I can be like, that guy's working for Ron, that guy's working for Ron. They'll have their own tables, their own company names, and everything. But it's Ron's table.
I went to Ron's place, so you've been there.
Yep, I've been to his house,
and he had that separate building. And I didn't go in his house, but he had a separate building, and that's where I went in to look at the stuff, and that's where I picked up the egg eaters. And,
so when I parted ways with him, that building was still empty. So where his house, that building was there, and that was like his next step of what he was going to do. But he had like a breezeway, like in between his garage and his main house, like those little walkways. And he bought all of Lee Watson's visions, and that was just stacked with visions all the way across there in that little breezeway. But the funny part was those were all filled with like random pets of his, like some boas and this and that. Those animals were healthy. He'd come back from the show and he would take his 15 boxes and set them in the corner, and they would sit there until the next week when he went to the show.
And I don't get is he still sells stuff?
Because people still buy it. This is what happens is, and nobody believes me, but the shows that he's vending, most of those people there are buying their first animal. They don't have a clue. And when you see this leopard gecko on this guy's table for $20 and this guy's selling it for $4, you're just going to spend the $4. You don't know any better.
You're right.
But the problem is those people are going to go back. That animal's going to die, and they're never going to buy an animal again. They're going to say, you know what? I tried the reptile thing. I got one. It died. I'm no good. And they're done with the hobby. So I think people like that are the biggest nail in the coffin that's going to happen to this industry.
I agree with you, and he's been doing it for
as long as I can remember.
Yeah, I mean, he just does it and does it and does it, and it's funny that we're in the same area, so we know the same people, and that now he has his own shows. I remember Brian Hahn. He was set up at Brian Hahn's show in one time, and Hahn went up there and goes, "Dude, you have to take the dead animals off the table." There's dead animals on the table.
On the table. And
that's crazy.
Say, no, they're just dehydrated, and throw them in a bucket of water underneath this table and kick it over. Like,
I just remember it just was, and I love Brian Hahn. Yeah. It's just, he's good people. Brian, we've gone back 20 something years. Give me a deal on ARS displays. Guys, I know Brian Hahn personally. He will not give me a discount. And ready for this? I can call Brian Hahn right now. I could call him and go, "Hey, I want to do the Indianapolis show." He'll say, "Load it through the website." Sarah, swear to God, that's what he'll tell me. Load it through the website. Yeah. He just don't have time anymore.
Right.
I need to do more shows. I need to start traveling.
Yeah. I love the traveling. Like, that's one thing I'll never give up. Like, I told the wife, I said, if this cage company ever gets like crazy super huge, I'm still going to go to shows. I'll just pay someone else to take the long drive and I'll fly in. But I could never give up the giant crowds of talking reptiles with all sorts of people. And, and to me, the vendors are family. Like, it's just the way it is. When I don't get down to a herp show for a month or two, I feel like I haven't seen my kids, but they're like my siblings down there.
Mickey's trying to get me to do them, and I said, Mickey, it's a cost thing. And right now, I'm hatching geckos, but I think I have like 80 left that are like sellable. And I have Sewerfest. Then the next month, I have Janesville again. Right. And then the one that Dylan's doing that's in, I forget what town it is, near Wausau. I'm going to do that one. Yeah. And then I'm like, so I got like 3 shows.
Emily might be doing her shows again coming up this summer.
Yeah. Emily told me, I emailed her. I said, how do I get in your shows? She just says, when they're in, you're in. She goes, when I have them, you're in. I'm like, cool. So I'll be doing Emily's shows. But by the time Emily's shows come up, I'll have 2021 animals ready.
Right.
Because watch Andrew. I hatch about 100 a day. So I hatched 100. I haven't pulled tonight eggs. I pulled like 30 eggs this morning. I hatched about 100 a day.
Nice. That's a lot of geckos.
I'm hoping that I do 2,500 this year.
So Sean does a show, the Herp Show in Kansas City. That'd be a closer one for you.
Yeah, I need to start. See, this is what I'm doing. I just need to do the drive. See, my issue is I still work full time.
Right.
So I would have to do that drive, and I just need to trust the reptiles and just do it because I do move geckos.
Right.
I just need to do it.
Well, you did it before.
Yeah, I know. I used to do it 2 shows every weekend.
Yeah.
Every weekend it was 2 shows.
I used to too, and I still do a lot. I still do a shit ton of shows, but it's not as many animals going with me all the time, which is a lot easier for me to take the bigger trips when I'm taking dry cages and one box of animals compared to. I mean, I remember going across country with a minivan floor to ceiling full of cages or full of animals. Like
Mickey wants me just to do his, and he's right. If I just did all his and I traveled with them, I could probably support myself.
yeah,
But I wouldn't be able to do a full-time job because I'd have to come back and just do it during the week. And then I would have to rotate geckos because it would be really hard to take the same geckos to every weekend.
Mickey's doing great things with his show. Sean's doing great things with his show. I've been trying, other than a couple shows that I want to be focused on just because of the type of, as big as they are and it's a big audience, I've been trying to focus on shows that I want in the hobby. Because just like anything, you want to support what's doing well for it. I don't want to support a show with my presence and my, I don't want to draw a crowd to a show that I don't support. Mickey,
It's a good way
Sean,
to be.
they're running a different level of shows. Now, I don't know. You said you haven't been to any of the Herp shows yet?
Me?
Yeah.
What Herp's Sean's?
Yeah.
I've never been to a Sean show.
Oh my God.
I've been to Janesville. I've done when I was in Ohio, I did Columbus, Cleveland, Taylor, Kalamazoo, Indianapolis, Mars, and Cleveland. And now I do Green Bay. I'll be doing Wausau, Janesville, and Sewerfest. That's all I do.
Okay.
I don't even go down to Tiny show, and Tiny would get me in, but it's just the thing with Tiny show, and I love the guy. It's not against him. I don't want to be set up next to chickens.
Right.
I just don't want to be to a farm show. I'm going down there to sell geckos. I'm going down there to that. And I'm not saying it doesn't work.
Right.
I just don't want to be next to chickens and goats and stuff like that. If he did like a room for farm animals and a room for reptiles and a room for other exotics, it would be different, but he can't do that. I understand.
Right.
That's the only reason I don't do that show. And it's not saying I hate it. It's just, it's not for me.
I don't do it because it's not gonna. My audience isn't in Illinois. There's not venomous keepers in Illinois.
Yep.
It just doesn't make sense. I do try and go there on Tinley weekend, and I'll vend on Sunday because he does a show on Sunday, and he usually has like the grizzly bear cubs, and he actually draws a huge crowd away from Tinley, and all of the vendors are at Tinley, so I have the place all to myself. So when I had animals, I would always make sure I vended it on Tinley weekend because I would be the only reptile guy there, and I would sell out every time.
I never thought of that. Yeah, because I will say the shows right before Tinley usually are not good.
No.
They're not good. But I gotta tell Mickey, he did an amazing job on the 2-day. I cleaned up. I sold more geckos than I thought. When I got home, I'm like, oh, whoa. I was like, whoa. I sold some geckos.
No, the last Chainsville show blew my mind. That was epic. Like, I wish he'd do them all 2 days.
Hey,
I hate 1-day shows.
I have to get used to the 2-day shows because you heard I lost my money bag, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was texting Mickey, how do I get back in? I was texting Miles saying, did you see it? And then I got it and I was fine. And then I broke my 500 millimeter camera lens that night.
Right.
I'm like, God wants me to lose thousands of dollars. It just does.
Yeah, Andy Hine lost his money bag at a Herp show one weekend, and Andy Hine does like 17, 18 tables full of dry goods. Like he's the man. So there was probably like $20,000 in that money bag that he had thought he lost, and he didn't know if he set it on the table. And you know how they are; anyone could have just walked. It ended up that he set it in a box, and he found it like at the next show when he was unpacking it, already counted it as a loss, and then boop, popped up in the bottom of a box. Yeah. I don't remember if it was like an employee that put it there or something, but
I'm just lucky the vendors were family because we're at the auction.
Yeah.
And I just had it sitting on my table, and there was Evan, Miles, Dylan, all these people around my table, and they knew what it was. It says the bank on it.
That's one thing that I love about the shows that I'm vending now, like Mickey's shows and Sean's shows. I don't worry about the vendors like you used to have to back in the day. You know,
they'll take stuff right off your table. They didn't care.
Right next to you. Like now at Mickey's show or Sean's show, you can be like, hey, can you watch my table while I go have a cigarette? No problem. And you're out there and you could take your time and smoke your cigarette because you're not worried about him like popping a corner on a deli as he stole your snake and you just think it escaped. You know, that was a good trick they like to pull at Streamwood back in the day.
Yep. Oh, it must have popped off.
Yep. So, you know, you don't have to worry about that. I love that.
Yeah, Mickey does a really good job. I love the vendors. Wisconsin's just different.
Wisconsin's a hard state to put a show in.
Yes.
Like a lot of shows have tried and failed in this state.
Because if it's not Sewerfest, it didn't work.
Right.
Green Bay?
I would say Emily's took like 2 or 3 years before it finally took off.
The one that was the biggest is my first Janesville. I only did like $800, and that's a failure to me when I do all what I do. And but the first Green Bay show, I still never seen a show like this. He had to refuse people to not come in because it was so packed. This was before COVID. And their line was out there. The next show, there was a line long like at Hamburg. And I'm sitting there like, Dylan, what are you doing? And the first show was over 1,000. The next show was over double. And I mean, I was just selling geckos. People would just come up. I want that. Here you go. It reminded me of Sewerfest. Because awesome. Sewerfest, the reason I say get in there is I know I'm going to sell geckos. I know the traffic's going to be there. It's mini Tinley. And I hate to say that because it's Sewerfest. It's different. Shane does a great job. Shane's good people. I love Shane. His team's good. It's just now he does 2 rooms. I think he's still doing 2 rooms. But the walkthrough, he gets lines there. Every time I've ever gone there, the line goes all the way back to the parking lot.
Didn't Sewerfest used to be a Venomous show too?
I believe it did.
Yeah, because I've heard people say that before, and it's like I've never been to Sewerfest. It always seems that I'm like at a show somewhere, or I completely space it out until the day before, and they're like, "Oh, are you going to Sewerfest tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Shit, I missed it." Like, it's just that one show that I've just never been able to make it to, and I've been doing this since I was 12. Mr. Popular.
Yep. That happens.
That was my phone all day yesterday. I'm like trying to go to pick up them 5 new snakes, and I've released the video, my last video when I went to Emily's and helped her work on her zoo the night before. I went to bed with like 81 views on that video, and I woke up to like 6,000 views on it, like 400 extra subs. My phone was blowing up, and then all day long it was just constant.
So what's in the cage right behind you there?
This one here?
Yes.
This is one of my monocle cobras. So I got monocle cobra here, his future girlfriend's over here, my gaboon's up here. I have a pair of triple het melanistic Atrox in this cage, and then on the bottom I have a pair of New Mexican locale Atrax, and they look like silver, almost like they're hypo, but they're not. It's just a locale on them.
Oh, very cool.
So yeah, that's just my one stack, and then I got another stack of cages there. Well, this actually used to be my bedroom, but my shop was outside. My heating unit went out last summer, so I only had cooling. So before summer, that heating unit was like $900 to replace, and I was already planning on redoing the basement for the next facility. So I just moved everything into my bedroom and my living room for the winter. I wasn't going to go and buy a new heating unit for the outdoor one, and I've just been so busy. The basement's not finished yet. So yeah, now my bedroom is half of the living room, and the snakes got my room now.
Now, are each one of them individual cages just stacked on top of each other, or can you buy a whole?
Yeah, they're all stacked together, but they're all individual cages. So I got a 4 foot, 4 foot, 2 foot, 2 foot, 4 foot.
So look at that. It's like Legos.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm also a little bit OCD in my designing. So you'll notice that the measurements of my cages, whether they're tall or short or whatever, they all even out to where they'll make a perfect 6 foot stack, depending on whether you put 4 of them together, 2 of them together, or 3 of them together.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
Very, very good.
So like my 8 foot is 3 foot tall. My 6 foots are 2 foot tall, and my 4 and 2 foots are 18 inches tall. and then my arboreal is 3 foot tall too. So like you can mix and match them all over, and it's just like one solid wall.
Well, see, now that makes a very uniform look, which is very.
Yeah, I'm OCD.
There's a lot of people like that.
I think it looks more professional when you have a uniform look on your setup.
It does. It does. I think you need to do more YouTube on them too. You should just do like a feature saying this is how this works and just put it out there.
Yeah, my wife tells me that all the time too. But what I told her is I'll get there, but first I want to make people like me first. I don't want to just sound like a preacher all the time. You know,
I'm in love with the caging, and that's why I literally, people are watching this probably going to be like, yeah, Gary messaged me too. I messaged like 20 people.
Yeah,
I have like half of them committed, but I wanted you first.
Yeah,
because it's venomous and the caging is that awesome. Right. And then I got Nico next week. Nico's going to be a big one because he's shy.
Okay.
So he doesn't want to do an interview with anyone but me.
Okay.
So I was like, oh yeah, we can do that too. But I wanted your venomous stuff on. I just was like, it's going to be our break-in because we had Wally on the radio side when we had the radio, and Wally would be on this. We'll get Wally on this. But when I was like visual, this and that, I want to do this good. And I mean, I literally was playing with this at work today, making sure I could do certain things. I had 4 computers signed up, my 2 phones, messing with different designs.
That's awesome.
I was like, oh, I got this down. Messaging the companies like, can I do this? And they're like, no, you can't do that yet, but we can do this.
Right. Yeah, I put little pieces of like me cleaning cages and how easy they work in the channel. Eventually, I'll probably like I have an idea for like a commercial that I could use for like, you know how the YouTubers will have like a paid section in the center of their video. It's not like an ad, but it's like something I can do that for myself. And I might put like a little 30-second thing in the middle of my video, how they work, how fast they are, easy.
When you do that, get it to me because I got YouTube's coming back. I just posted a teaser today. Get it to me. I'll put it on mine. Yep.
Okay.
I'll do it for nothing because I believe in what it is.
Right.
A big hint. Every single partnership, every single sponsor that I've had on TR anywhere has been free. I've never charged a dot nickel.
Right. Yeah.
I give it all to Andrew. He's a millionaire.
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah, that's. I do a lot of that too. Like with I know my channel ain't shit yet, but I hate when I see like YouTubers that I see it at shows. Like it's funny. Like someone will be coming through. I don't even know who the hell they are, but they got a camera, so I assume that they're a YouTuber. Yep. I don't watch all the channels, but I can pick one out when I see one. And you'll be like, hey, well, why don't you throw my, instead of just shooting my animal, why don't you throw my company name up there? Well, I charge for that. What the fuck, man? We're supposed to be a community. This is my buddy's company, Drew IP. Yep. I wear his hats all the time. In my videos.
He was at Janesville. He was
in Janesville. I wear his hats. I wear other, my buddy Max from Max's View, I'll wear his shirts. I wear Herp shirts all the time. Like, I don't understand why YouTubers or anything like that feel the need they got to charge their fellow, charge Ray-Ban, for an ad in your thing. Don't charge a fellow reptile person. Like
that's when you look at them and say, you know what's funny? I charge you for taking pictures of my animals.
Right. Well, yep, $10.
I get that. I get people all the time like, can I take a picture of that gecko? I'm like, oh, whatever. Take a picture, whatever you want. But then, like you said, you say, hey, why don't you give me a shout out? You never see them. People go, this was Horner Exotics, or, this was Venom Proof Caging. You don't see that. I'm like, put that out there.
Yeah.
And hopefully,
especially if their animal or their product drew you enough to want to feature that on there, why wouldn't you want to let your viewers know where they can get it?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think. If we were more of a community, and like I told people, like the good stuff needs to be promoted, the bad stuff needs to be pushed out. It just does. Because it's crappy caging out there.
Oh yeah.
There's some real horrible stuff.
There's crappy caging, but then there's good caging, and your quality. I'm mind blown how you sell it so cheap, because it's not cheap. It's not. Yeah. I've touched it. It's not. It's not giving. It's. I was like, when you said the price, I'm like, how is he doing that?
I wish I was making more off it, but I want everyone to get there. So where I'm at now, I'm making enough to keep the company surviving, and my goal is as it grows and I get bigger, I'll actually make enough to where I can pay myself someday.
They say someday. See, I mean, he's got. I honestly think we're just going to help push you. That's what we're going to do. We're going to help push you. Hey, look at someone said. I don't know who it was, but look at from Illinois can confirm I drive around it too.
Yeah. Thank you.
And Tanisha's on here. Hi, Tanisha. But yeah, it's going on 10:30. I got to work in the morning. I don't know if you guys do.
I work every day.
Yeah, me too. I have to pull eggs yet today. And I got to go, make sure the Cayman lizard didn't tear apart what I gave him.
I have a giant turd that I just seen that must have happened while we were talking on my retics. And she's actually getting close to laying, so maybe that's a good sign because she crawled up in her lay box. So I might get lucky and have that go down.
Good luck.
Get some eggs today.
I hope so, man. It's been a while since I done retics and stuff because I got out all the big snakes when everyone was forced to, basically. And so now I only have 4 retics, but they're cool ones that can produce some pretty cool stuff. This year I'm trying the Motley Golden Childs for the first year. So that's the one I'm hoping for the most because I want one really bad, but I don't want to buy one. I want to produce it. So we'll see.
Go for it. I think you're going to hit it. Just hit it. Just do it.
Yeah.
You got this.
It might be, well, with her, it might be next year because the female is right on that ready to go side. So if she does go, it'll be a smaller clutch. Otherwise, it'll be next year, but it'll happen. I'm too stubborn to give up on anything.
Yeah, that's the way to be, though.
Right.
So, all right, guys. Well, I appreciate you being on. We got to get you on again.
Absolutely.
Sure. Thanks for having me. This is a good time.
Yeah,
it's a wealth of information, so it's always good to have someone on that and who's very passionate about what you're doing. So that's also good to have someone on like that.
We're gonna rock this out. Oh yeah, venomous. What's better?
Right.
So, all right, guys. I appreciate all the listeners also. So, I guess we're out.
All right.
All right, guys. Talk to you guys later.